There were even minions from the ancient era? He can even repair my meridians? Tu Zhanwang was completely shocked. This person didn't sound like a normal freelancer at all. All his followers were from an ancient sect, and they were omnipotent. This was almost on the same level as Five Elements sect. Yes, that's what the Silkworm Transformation young master said. It can't be false. Earth Swooshing nodded. As for meridians, I had my suspicions before, but the great master didn't. Perhaps he knows something. So, as long as I call him boss, he'll help me repair my meridians? Tu Zhanwang suddenly remembered what Linny said before he left. You're not my follower. I don't have the obligation to save you for free. Didn't that mean that if he became his follower, Lin Yi would repair his meridians for free? With that thought, Tu Zhanwang was a little excited. He wasn't calling Lin Yi boss just to repair his meridians. The main thing was that with a boss like Lin Yi, at least people like Zhang Naipeo wouldn't dare hit him anymore. Plus, Lin Yi was so strong and would become the biggest helper of Yellow Soil sect in the future. Calling him boss was a very good deal. But Tu Zhanwang was a little worried about his uncle's attitude. After all, he was the young master of an ancient sect, and calling Lin Yi boss wasn't a big deal right now. But once he took over the position, wouldn't the entire Yellow Soil sect be Lin Yi's follower? That should be the case, but I'm afraid that Senior Lin won't take you in. Tu Zhanxing smiled bitterly. Even Tu Qingsong was hinting for him to make things happen between Tu Zhanwang and Lin Yi. Lin Yi was really capable, otherwise the sect master wouldn't have said that. But this way, it wouldn't be easy to call Lin Yi boss. Lin Yi had said that he had enough followers already and wouldn't take in just anyone. It seemed like there needed to be an opportunity. Pester me with soft and hard tactics. Plus, didn't he ask for the essence of the earth element? He doesn't know how to use it, and only my uncle and I know this secret. So if he wants to know, I'll have to tell him myself. After a while, we'll get familiar, and I'll take the chance to call him boss. Tu Zhanwang said, but what I'm worried about is, how do I explain this to my uncle? Tu Zhanwang admired absolute masters, especially when Lin Yi defeated Zhang Naipeo. He was only worried about his uncle's side. That's fine. Tu Zhanxing nodded. You don't have to worry too much about the headmaster. He's already said that you can get closer to Senior Lin, young master. Everything is up to you. Oh, did uncle really say that? Tu Zhanwang wasn't stupid, he understood immediately, but he was a little surprised with his uncle's personality. Why would he agree? Even if it was to heal his meridians, it wouldn't be that easy, right? Yes, if you don't believe me, you can call the headmaster. Tu Zhanxing nodded. There's no need for that. Why would I doubt your words? Tu Zhanwang waved his hand. He was just a little confused, but he didn't doubt Tu Zhanxing's words at all. He'd been with him for so many years, and he'd always been loyal. Chapter 2892. Now. Tu Xiaowang shook his head, a bitter smile on his face. Mr. Lin's acting like he doesn't want anyone to disturb himself after saving me. He just said a few words and left, as if he didn't want to talk to me anymore. Then what do we do? Tu Xiaowang realized for the first time that making a young master of an ancient sect acknowledge a freelancer as his boss was a difficult thing. The difficulty didn't lie with the young master of the ancient sect, it lay with the freelancer. When is the person delivering the essence coming? Tu Xiaowang asked after some thought. Should be tomorrow. He's taking a private jet, so it shouldn't be long. Tu Xiaowang said. Yeah, tomorrow then. I'll explain to Senior Lin how to use the essence when it's delivered, and we'll see what his attitude is like when I call him boss. Tu Xiaowang said. Sounds good. Tu Xiaowang nodded. After leaving Tu Xiaowang's room, Lin Yi didn't go back to his own room. He went to young Chi-Chi's room and knocked on the door. Chi-Chi was talking to Lil 9 on the phone when the knocking came. Who would be knocking at a time like this? Didn't Lin Yi go treat Tu Xiaowang? Who is it? Chi-Chi asked. It's me, Lin Yi said. Chi-Chi quickly lowered her voice when she heard Lin Yi's voice. Lil 9? Bro's here. Let's talk later. I'll go open the door. Yeah. Lil 9 was a little dejected. She wanted to let Chi-Chi give the phone to Lin Yi, but thinking about it, what could she say if she gave the phone to Lin Yi? These years, her relationship with Lin Yi had become very distant, and it was just the kind of conversation between teammates. She didn't know what to say when she actually picked up the phone. Chi-Chi opened the door and blushed when she saw Lin Yi. "Ai bro, you're here." "Yeah, I just came out of Tua Xiaowang's room, so I stopped by." Linny said, "My name is Linny now. E and Eagle are just code names. You can call me by my current name. I'm not really used to Ai." "Sure." Chi-Chi liked Lin E as a person, not the name Ai. It didn't matter what Linny was called. He was still that childhood friend in her heart. "But Linny bro, your room's over there, and Tua's on the other side. It's not like you're going in the same direction." Ugh, Linny. Linny didn't know what. Lin Chi-Chi felt a bit embarrassed. Lin Xiaowang. Xiaowang Yi's face. Linny didn't mean it, but it made Chi-Chi's heart skip a beat. A flash of shyness appeared on her cool face. "Is that so?" Xiao Qi's so happy. "Yeah, there's something even happier. The Earth Essence is coming, and there's 2 bottles. The Yellow Earth sect promised to send them over as soon as possible." Linny said. "Really?" Chi-Chi was very excited. "Linny bro, you healed that Tua Xiaowang? They're so easygoing. Lil Joe can finally be saved." "Not yet, he's just alive. But his meridians are still broken." Linny shook his head. "But they're already very happy." "That's all?" Chi-Chi was a bit surprised. Wasn't the Yellow Earth sect a little too easy to deal with? She just didn't know how important Tua Xiaowang was to them. "Yeah, you should tell the 9th princess about this later. Let her be happy." Lin E came here to cheer Chi-Chi and Lil Ju up. "Linny bro, why don't you call her yourself? You have her contact anyway." Chi-Chi said. You know that I'm in contact with her?" Linny was a bit surprised. His contact with Lil Jia was one way. This was the rule of the assassin organization. Logically speaking, Chi-Chi shouldn't know. "But you're an assassin from the assassin group, right?" "As long as it's an assassin on a mission, they're all connected to Lil Jia. It's just that a lot of people don't know each other, but Linny bro definitely knows who Lil Jia is." "I forgot about that." Linny couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Then, you won't blame me for not going back and contacting you, will you?" "Of course not. Father said that an assassin shouldn't contact his teammates with his original identity after a mission. If something happens to one person, it'll affect the others. That's why she hasn't made up her mind to look for Lily bro." Chi-Chi shook her head. Who would have thought that fate would allow Lil Chi to meet Lil Ebro again? "But now it seems that you're no longer an assassin, Linny bro. You've stepped into the world of practitioners?" "Yeah, assassins are only limited to the common world. In fact, if it weren't for some people and things, I might never have had anything to do with the world of practitioners in this lifetime. But the people and things around me forced me to go against the flow and step into a higher plane. I don't cause trouble for them, but they cause trouble for me and the people around me," Linny said. "Just like this time, if it weren't for my name in the world of practitioners, no matter how much help Tian-chan gave us, there'd be no way the Yellow Earth sect would have handed over 2 bottles of the essence so willingly." "That's true. I didn't think that Linny bro would be this strong. No matter what you do, you've made a name for yourself in the world of practitioners. Lil Chi will follow Lin Ebro from now on." Chi-Chi was even happier that Linny had become stronger than her. Linny knew Chi-Chi's personality very well. She looked cold and cool on the outside, but she was actually a girl who looked strong on the outside but was actually very fragile on the inside. She wasn't suited to be an assassin, and it was due to her parents that she started training as an assassin at a young age. Her path wasn't because she liked it. At first, Chi-Chi was a bit against it, but after getting to know him, Linny could feel that Chi-Chi was training for him, and now she was fighting for Lil 9. In the Ice Palace trial, in the practitioner's market, Chi-Chi had cried, showing the fragile side of her heart. Under this cool facade, Chi-Chi's strength came from a stubborn belief. Chapter 2893. This was a feeling that Lin E understood very well. Linny had been through this before. After all, those backgrounds in the common world, on the other hand, were quite useful in the common world. For example, at House Kang's birthday banquet, dealing with normal houses that weren't even considered noble houses. But at the noble house level, those backgrounds were useless. This was also why Linny had always been envious of people with good mentors. Even people like Kong Ming and Zhang Naipeo, who weren't important at all, had sky-class strength. How the hell did a hard-working practitioner like Linny feel? But what could he do? He was tall, rich and handsome, with a good master. Pills were like candy to him, and Lin Yi, on the other hand, had to go through a lot of hardships just to get one, and he was almost trapped under the cliffs of Wushuang Mountains during the test. It was a feeling of helplessness. But Lin Yi, on the other hand, had overcome all of this with much difficulty, finally standing at the peak of existence. Of course, all of this was thanks to the Jade Space and that damn thing, or else Lin Yi would have died a long time ago. As for Chi-Chi, Lin Yi patted her shoulder. Xiao-Chi, you can tell others that you're my sister from now onwards. Normally, no one would go out of their way to cause trouble for you. In this test, Lin Yi could see that he was in a very delicate position. No one dared to mess with him, or rather, no one wanted to mess with him, because the consequences would be too severe. This was why Lin Yi and Zhang Naipeo were able to coexist peacefully. Especially after the incident with Zhang Naipeo got out, Lin Yi's name was like thunder in the ears of the ancient practitioners. Sure, heh, Ibro used to protect me, and now he's protecting me again. Can I do whatever I want in the ancient level? Chi-Chi asked happily. You can bully the people who bullied you again. For example, tomorrow morning, you can occupy a few tables and stop them from eating, Lin Yi said. Okay. Lin Yi suggested casually, but Chi-Chi seemed to be paying attention. When Lin Yi got back to his room, Chi-Chi happily called Jiao. The people from the Yellow Earth sect came quickly. It was unknown if Tu Qingsong had specially arranged it. In short, this disciple of the Yellow Earth sect arrived at the Heavenly Elixir sect in the early hours of the next day. It seemed that the power of the Yellow Earth sect was not weak. The private plane could take off at any time. Good timing. When Tu Ba Wang saw that the disciples of the Yellow Earth High sect had arrived, he was instantly overjoyed. He understood the principle of striking while the iron was hot, but if he didn't have anything in his hands, why would he strike the iron? He needed to be strong, didn't he? And so, after Tu Ba Wang got the essence, he came to the inn's restaurant early, ready to have a chance encounter with Lin Yi. He'd then talk to Lin Yi about the essence, and after the meal, he'd go to Lin Yi's room or his own room to talk about it. When it came to the point of worship, he'd just kneel down and call him boss, and everything would be fine. Of course, Tu Ba Wang's idea was good, but he noticed something strange when he came to the restaurant. All the practitioners who came here to eat were walking out of the restaurant with their lunchboxes and not eating in the restaurant. This made Tu Ba Wang very confused. Normally speaking, practitioners here didn't have the habit of eating in their rooms. There were no full-time waiters here, and the trash from eating in their rooms had to be taken care of by themselves. Everyone thought it was troublesome, and they could leave after eating in the restaurant. What was going on today? Why was everyone taking takeout? He was about to ask someone when he raised his head to see Zhang Naipeo walking out of the restaurant with a depressed look on his face. In his hands was a takeout as well. At the same time, Naipeo saw Tu Ba Wang as well. He froze. He knew how heavily injured Tu Ba was. How did this guy get better? How could he walk? Wasn't he unconscious? But, as confused as Naipeo was, he didn't plan on asking anymore. He only looked at Tu Ba Wang once before leaving in a hurry. Naipeo's weird actions made Tu Ba Wang a little puzzled. Why was Naipeo acting like he didn't see him at all? He was the one who hit him, but he was here, perfectly fine. Couldn't he ask a few questions? In fact, Tu Ba Wang did want Naipeo to ask a few more questions after all. If Naipeo wanted to cause trouble for him, Lin Yi would probably step in and interfere. He'd just been healed by Lin Yi, so how could he let Naipeo do whatever he wanted? This had to do with the face of a practitioner. He shook his head. If Naipeo didn't cause trouble, he wouldn't provoke him. Lin Yi wasn't an idiot either. Him provoking Naipeo and getting hurt again were two different situations. Tua Xiaowang hadn't even stood still when he heard an arrogant girl's voice. All the tables in this restaurant belong to me now. You're not allowed to eat here. Lin Yi bro and I are going to enjoy our time together. You guys buy food and go eat outside. The voice belonged to Yang Chi-Chi. Of course, she'd bought some food and wanted to find a place to sit down when these practitioners chased her away with a cold glare. This time, Yang Chi-Chi was giving them a taste of their own medicine. Anyone who wanted to eat here was kicked out. Of course, some of them were innocent bystanders. Chi-Chi didn't go to their table when she came, or they had already finished eating and left, not meeting Chi-Chi at all. But they didn't dare say anything. Yang Qiqi and the others didn't know where they came from, but Linny and the others did. This Linny was the one who swept through the Sky Elixir sex test, and even Naipeo wasn't his match. Didn't they see Naipeo leave after buying breakfast? Who else could be a match for Lin Yi? Thinking that it was better to avoid trouble, they all left after buying breakfast. Tu Bawang, on the other hand, couldn't help but smile bitterly at Yang Qiqi's domineering. This person was obviously very close to Lin Yi, and Tu Bawang couldn't afford to piss him off. But he didn't want to leave just like that. At the same time, his admiration for Lin Yi went up another level. Seeing was believing, and he'd heard about how strong Lin Yi was from Tu Zhenxing. All he saw was Lin Yi's medical skills, but he didn't know much about Lin Yi's strength. Chapter 2894. At that thought, Tua Xiaolong was excited. So strong. What kind of ancient sect could be this strong? They didn't even say anything, just a little girl, and these people wouldn't dare eat here. Tua Xiaolong's imagination was running wild. If it were him instead of Qiqi, it'd be so much more fun and pretentious. He stood at the entrance of the restaurant and spoke to the participants, especially Naipeo. All the tables in this restaurant belong to me now. You're not allowed to eat here. I have some things to discuss with Boss Lin Yi, so you guys buy your food and go eat outside. Waha, he was excited just thinking about it. Tua had always been someone who liked to show off, and he didn't have many bad intentions. He just liked the feeling of being looked up to, and having Lin Yi as his boss could sweep away all the frustrations he'd faced before. Oi, all the tables in this restaurant belong to me now. You're not allowed to eat here. HM? Qiqi was just about to shoo Tua Xiaolong away when she saw that it was Tua Xiaolong. She changed the topic immediately. You're Tua Xiaolong? Yeah, sis. I'm actually Boss Lin Yi's friend as well. I'm his patient. So do you think I can eat here? Tua Xiaolong asked carefully, his face thick. You? Qiqi turned to Lin Yi. He was the one who gave Little Nine the essence, but whether or not he could sit here was up to Lin Yi. Qiqi didn't dare make the decision herself. Oh, Tua Xiaolong, you're recovering pretty fast? You're here to give me the essence, aren't you? Lin Yi estimated the time. If Huang Tu had been a bit faster, it should be about time. Yeah, Boss Lin Yi is amazing. You know what I'm here for? Tua Xiaolong said as he ran over to Lin Yi and sat down. Outside the restaurant, the cultivators who had not left all had strange expressions on their faces. Firstly, they were surprised that Earth Overlord had woken up. Secondly, he actually said that he was Lin Yi's patient. Could it be that Lin Yi had cured him? How was this possible? Wasn't Earth Tyrant's injuries so severe that even a third-grade Great Cyclic Pill had no effect on it? How could it be better? Of course, even though these people were puzzled, they didn't dare to ask. Why are you calling me boss? You are also not my little brother. Lin Yi glanced at local overlord and said indifferently. Lin Yi's expression didn't show anything special, but he had some doubts in his heart. The local tyrant actually wanted to recognize him as his boss so soon? What prompted him to make such a quick decision? He had only healed the injuries on his body and did not repair his meridians. Moreover, this was only a transaction. He had healed him, and he had also paid the earth essence. It was extremely fair. Moreover, even if there was Tian Chan's mediation, it was impossible for an ancient sect's young master to make a decision so easily. Feng Shipian and Li Siba, on the other hand, had recognized him as their boss after witnessing his strength under special circumstances. Tua, on the other hand, was different. He didn't understand why he'd come to him. Was it just to repair his meridians? However, Lin Yi knew that he was a very good judge of character. Lin Yi didn't see any utilitarian intentions in Earth Tyrant's eyes. On the contrary, he seemed to admire him very much. What was he admiring? Moreover, he had Earth Diamond Star by his side. If he casually recognized him as his boss, wouldn't Earth Diamond Star report to their sect master? Boss, I can't express my gratitude in words. Boss Lin Yi healed my injuries and brought me back to life. It was like I was reborn. So, Boss Lin Yi is like a second parent to me. However, if I call Boss Lin Yi Godfather, you definitely won't recognize me as your son. So, I'll settle for the next best thing and call you boss. Earth Tyrant said. What do you think? Of course, this is just a title. In my heart, you're my boss. It doesn't matter if you recognize me as your little brother or not. You're my idol, and I'm your fan. Cough, cough. Lin Yi didn't expect Earth Tyrant to come up with such a fallacious argument. Godfather? He really dared to call him that. However, Lin Yi could also see that this kid was sincere when he said these words. Therefore, even if Lin Yi was puzzled, his expression still softened. He nodded and said non-committally, "Where's the Earth Essence?" I was so focused on talking that I forgot about the important matter. The Earth Essence is here." As he said this, Earth Tyrant carefully took out 2 very small bottles from his pocket and placed them in front of Lin Yi. Such a small bottle? Lin Yi looked at the pocket-sized bottles in front of him, a little speechless. This small bottle is actually just enough for one use," Earth Tyrant explained awkwardly. The Earth Overlord explained somewhat awkwardly, "There is not a lot of this thing. The Earth Attribute Essence liquid is stored in a special way. Once the bottle is opened, it has to be used immediately. It will lose its effect after 3 days. Hence, it would be a waste to store more." "So that's how it is." Lin Yi nodded and thought that this was similar to the spring water that old Lin and Air Gooden drank at home. Once the spring water was taken out, it would lose its effect after a period of time.
Yes.
Earth Tyrant nodded and asked, "Boss Lin Yi, what do you want to do with this Earth Essence?" "The way to use this Earth Essence is a secret of our Yellow Earth High Sect. Only my uncle, the current leader, and I know about it. Even Earth Diamond Star doesn't know about it. Of course, Boss Lin Yi isn't an outsider, so it doesn't matter if you know about it." Lin Yi heard Earth Tyrant's words and thought it was funny. This guy was trying to get information out of him so that he would accept him as a follower. Of course, Lin Yi accepting Earth Tyrant wasn't a problem. Right now, Lin Yi basically didn't care about the Hidden House's power anymore. The next step would be the ancient powers. An additional follower would be an additional helper, so naturally, Lin Yi was happy to do so. However, this boss Earth Tyrant was suspicious. Lin Yi had to figure out this person's purpose and character first. "I have a friend who has too much Earth element in his body, and he can't control or guide it. He needs the Earth Essence and parts of an Earth Spirit beast to treat him." Lin Yi didn't hide anything. After all, he had to explain this clearly to Earth Tyrant so that he could take the right medicine. Chapter 2895. This situation stunned Tu Jun. His eyes widened as he looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. "Boss Lin Yi, are you serious? Why would I lie to you about something like this? Why else would I ask you for the essence?" Lin Yi frowned. He didn't know what kind of expression Tyrant had on his face. Was it that surprising? "No, Boss Lin, don't misunderstand. What I mean is, I thought that you had an Earth Element friend who went crazy during training and needed the essence of the Earth Element to mediate, but now it seems that's not the case. The situation you're talking about is very likely the Earth Element inheritor that our Yellow Earth High Sect has been looking for. The situation you described is exactly the same as the Earth Element inheritor." Tu Xiaowang quickly explained, "Earth Element inheritor?" Although old Lin had mentioned this before, he wasn't very sure. Now that Tu Xiaowang had mentioned it, it was basically certain that Little Nine was the so-called Earth Inheritor. At the thought, Lin Yi couldn't help but be wary. One had to know that the moment Xiao Xiao became the Inheritor, Lin Yi wasn't very willing. Miss Rock Candy said that the Inheritor had to do something dangerous. Xiao Xiao going to the Ice Palace and becoming an Inheritor was something Lin Yi didn't want, but Little Nine was something Lin Yi couldn't just let go of so easily. And so, Lin Yi said calmly, "I just want to know how to use this essence. As for the inheritor or not, I don't care. My friend won't be an inheritor."
That's...
Tu Jun realized that he was being a bit too emotional. This was Lin Yi, not anyone else. There was no way he could control the will of the person in front of him. So Tu Ba could only smile bitterly. "Boss Lin, it's like this. If that person's condition is as you say, using the essence of the Earth Element as a catalyst, along with the parts of the Earth Element Sky-class spirit beasts, can provide the greatest amount of relief, but there's a flaw in doing so. The Earth Element in your friend's body will disappear, and his body will become extremely weak. Even if you can extend his life, he won't be able to live for long. He'll die within 10 or 20 years. What? You're saying, is that true? Lenny was a bit surprised. Two Tyrants' words were very similar to what Miss Crystal Candy said back in the Ice Palace. Lenny wanted to give Xiao Xiao the fire spirit's fruit, but Miss Crystal Candy stopped him, and now Two Tyrant was saying the same thing. Of course, I wouldn't lie to my respected boss Lin E. 2 June. He sighed. I won't hide it from boss Lin E. But I came from the west to Central Plains not only to participate in the Sky Elixir sex test, but also to find an Earth element inheritor to bring back to our Yellow Earth sect. Two Tyrant had another reason for coming here, and that was to find his cousin, Tu Ran. However, his uncle, Tu Song, had specifically told him that the matter back then was a little complicated, and that he had to be careful with his words. He couldn't mention it to anyone else, so he didn't even mention it to Lin-E. Lin-E nodded. With the experience from last time in the Ice Palace, Lin-E didn't think that Tu Ba was lying to him. Little Nine's situation might really be as he said. He was an Earth element inheritor and had to accept the inheritance. Other than accepting the inheritance, is there no other way to solve the problem? Lin-E didn't want to give up. Like what kind of arts? It might be possible if they trained from a young age, but from the looks of it, even if they're younger than you, Senior Lin-E, they wouldn't be much younger, right? In terms of time, it's too late, at least not for us Earth element cultivators. Tu Xiaowang shook his head and said with certainty, I won't hide it from you, boss. If there was a solution, then the direct descendants of our Yellow Earth High School wouldn't be so few in number. Now, only my uncle and I are left. This is also why my uncle easily agreed to use the Earth essence in exchange for my life, because everyone in my family has left. Oh. Lin-E was a bit shocked. 2 June. His family. Were all dead? Of course, Lin-E didn't doubt that 2 June. He only needed to ask Gu Xian to know if it was true. Don't be surprised, Boss Lin. Our family's bloodline is actually the same as the bloodline you're talking about. There's a large amount of Earth elements in our bodies, and we have to train in the Yellow Earth high sex arts from a young age. Before 20, we have to step into Sky Class, or we'll face death. At that point, we need to use the essence of the Earth element and the body parts of an Earth element Sky Class spirit beast to alleviate the effects, but the effects vary from person to person. At most, it's 10 to 20 years of life. Tu Junwang said, but a Sky Class before 20 years of age. A sect can only raise 1 or 2 at a time, even if they do their best. After all, there's a limit to how many pills we can accumulate. It's just like how the everyday sect focuses on Zhang Naipeo, while our Yellow Earth High sect focuses on me. But, can't you guys become inheritors? Then why don't you accept the inheritance? Lin-E asked curiously. The inheritors are all female. Male cultivators are unable to accept and comprehend the inheritance and cannot become inheritors. Our Yellow Earth High sect's bloodline is very special. Our descendants are all male. If we want to give birth to a daughter, we have to use a very complicated method. We have to spend a lot of energy and treasures in order to produce a female descendant. This is specially done to cultivate cultivators, said Earth Overlord. Then, why don't you guys get a female descendant to accept the inheritance? Lin-E asked curiously. Yes, my uncle has a daughter, and she's also my cousin. This is something to be happy about. But, 2 June, he suddenly realized that he'd said too much. In front of Lin-E, he didn't have his guard up and accidentally spilled the beans. What's wrong? Lin-E saw that 2 June. He was confused. I'm sorry, Boss Lin-E, this is a family secret. I accidentally said too much. Tu Xiaowang said a little embarrassedly. Anyway, you just need to know that we tried, but we didn't succeed. Chapter 2896. That's not it. The success I mentioned before meant that there were other problems. Your friend will definitely be fine. By the way, is your friend a woman? Tu Xiaowang suddenly realized that he had overlooked the most important question, which was the gender of Lin Yi's friend. Was it a man or a woman? She's a woman. Lin Yi nodded. That is to say, after my friend goes there, she will definitely be able to receive the inheritance? That's right. Tu Xiaowang nodded. This is more effective than the Earth Essence Liquid and the things on the Heaven Stage Earth Spirit Beasts, and there is no danger, Then, is there any requirement for becoming an inheritor? For example, do you need to do one thing? Linny nodded and continued to ask, Boss Linny, you also know about that plan? Tu Xiaowang was a little surprised and lowered his voice. In his opinion, it was impossible for Lin Yi to have access to the core secrets of that level. Even if Lin Yi was the boss of several direct descendants of the ancient sects, those sects were not one of the main participants of that plan. The Holy Fist Palace was not one of them, and neither was the ancient Feng family. They only knew about the future Heaven Stage Island plan, but they definitely did not know what these inheritors were used for, nor did they know what these inheritors would do. Yes, my concubine is called Feng Xiaoxiao, the deputy palace master of Ice Palace, and also one of the inheritors. Linny nodded. So it is not surprising that she knows about this. What? Boss Lin Yi's concubine? Tu Xiaowang was stunned. He did not believe that Lin Yi's wife was the deputy palace master of Ice Palace, let alone a concubine. After all, Ice Palace was one of the most powerful sects among the ancient sections. The Heavenly Elixir sect once wanted to harm it, but they did not dare to do so. The deputy palace master of such a sect that even the everyday sect did not dare to cause trouble was actually Lin Yi's concubine? But thinking about it, it was normal. The everyday sect also did not dare to do anything to Lin Yi. Didn't the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect, the Heavenly Silkworm transformation, also say that he had no confidence in dealing with Lin Yi? Furthermore, Tu Overlord felt that there was no need for Lin Yi to lie to him. After a moment of shock, he said in admiration, Boss is indeed the boss. You are not on the same level as us young sect masters. You are already on the same level as the sect masters and palace masters of the various ancient sections. Linny ignored Tu Ba Wang's flattery and asked, First, tell me, are the earth element legatees going to do dangerous things in the future? This, boss, don't you know? It's the same as what an ice-type inheritor has to do. Tu Ba looked at Linny strangely. How could he not know? Do you think she would tell me if there was any danger and make me worry? Linny asked. That's true. Tu Ba didn't know about the things Linny had done before. He thought that Xiao Xiao became the vice palace master and became an inheritor, and then met Lin Yi and became Lin Yi's wife. That made sense. Xiao Xiao didn't want Linny to worry, so naturally, she wouldn't tell him the details. She didn't want Linny to worry, but Tu Ba was still a little confused. Why didn't she hide the fact that she's an inheritor? Wouldn't that make you less curious, boss? Inheritors can't lose their chastity. Do you think you should tell me? Linny was trying to confuse right and wrong. Naturally, Tu Ba wouldn't be able to see through it. I forgot about that. Haha, I see. Tu Ba understood. Xiao Xiao was Lin Yi's wife, but she didn't want Lin Yi to push her down. She had to explain the reason, and so Tu Ba nodded, but still tried to probe. It's like this. Boss Linny should know about that place, right? 5-element school? Linny asked. That's right, 5-element school. Earth Tyrant no longer had any doubts and directly said, This plan has been prepared for 1,000 years. The goal is to let a peak late-stage, heaven stage, great perfection cultivator set foot on the heavenly Tao. The plan is actually very simple: metal, wood, water, fire, earth, mist, and ice inheritors, along with a 5-element practitioner as a medium to open up Sky-class Island. In truth, that's all I know. There will definitely be dangers during the process of opening, but compared to the rewards, these dangers are nothing. These inheritors and mediums all have the chance to go to Heaven Rank Island and become elites in the Tao of Heaven. Which of us cultivators doesn't want to step into that realm? I see, but what about the specific process? Linny continued to ask. This wasn't too different from what Linny knew. The mediums were obviously Taganlong and Tian Chan, but these two mediums couldn't be used anymore. What was 5-element school going to do? I don't know the specifics. That place isn't public, and we can't just ask. Although, as one of the leading sects, they only get a spot to step into Sky-class Island. In fact, 5-element school is the most important part. Tu Ba said, What you said is about the same as what I know. It's all unimportant stuff. I don't know what the specific dangers are. Linny shrugged. Only a few people in 5-element school know about this. We can't do anything about it. Tu Ba said helplessly. If I could find out, I would have done it already. Well, in that case, I'll think about it and give you an answer. I'm not in a hurry to know how to use this earth essence. You go back to your room and wait for a while. Linny said to Tu Ba. Okay, Boss Linny, I'll go back first. I'll also go back and ask my uncle to see if he knows more. Tu Ba said respectfully. You haven't eaten breakfast yet? Tua Xiaowang had been talking to Lin Yi after he came in. He even forgot to eat breakfast, so Lin Yi reminded him. Tua Xiaowang, Tua Xiaowang. It's fine if I don't eat, but if boss wants me to eat, I'll eat a little. Tu Ba said and waved to Tu Jinxing, who was standing at the entrance of the dining hall. Hurry up and buy breakfast. Boss has rewarded me with breakfast with him. Linny was a bit speechless. This Tua Wang was quite a talent after all, but now it seemed that other than the fact that he liked to show off a little, he didn't have any other flaws. Showing off wasn't a flaw, either, since it was normal to show off when one had the strength. Chapter 2897. But she couldn't ask in the dining room with Tua there. Now that they were in the room, she quickly asked, Linny bro, what did Tua say about the inheritor? Lil 9. She's that inheritor? Inheritor? I don't know much about it. Do you want to ask Xiao Xiao about it? Linny saw the light in Chi-Chi's eyes and understood what she was thinking. No, I'm just a little curious. Big bro Linny's mistress. Is it that girl Linny bro was carrying that time in Ice Palace? How did she become the vice leader of Ice Palace? Chi-Chi was a little embarrassed that Linny had hit the nail on the head. Haha, I'll tell you then. Linny nodded and told Chi-Chi about how he met Xiao Xiao, as well as the problem with her body, and how she went to the Ice Palace. You know what happened after that. I went to the Ice Palace to ask for the medicine, but when I met the sect leader, Crystal Candy, something unexpected happened. Linny told Chi-Chi about what happened in the Ice Palace, and she couldn't help but be amazed. She didn't think that Xiao Xiao would have this sort of coincidence, becoming the vice leader and inheritor of Ice Palace. But this was a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. The good thing was that Xiao Xiao was saved, but the bad thing was that Xiao Xiao had to stay here and do things that she couldn't do. Chi-Chi could feel the helplessness in Lin Yi's voice. Back then, Lin Yi wasn't as strong as he was now. He didn't have the ease to deal with ancient sections. Of course, even now, Lin Yi wasn't much in the eyes of the Ice Palace. First, the Ice Palace was stronger than the Yellow Earth High Sect. Second, the Ice Palace didn't need anything from Lin Yi. Saving Xiao Xiao and letting her accept the legacy was an exchange. Lin Yi making Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill for Xiao Xiao didn't really matter to the Ice Palace. Even if he didn't, Xiao Xiao would still be the inheritor, and Bingtang would still get a share of the pie in Sky Class Island's plan. Hence, this was also the reason why Rock Candy didn't put Lin Yi in her eyes. And so, Lin Yi had no choice but to let Xiao Xiao stay in the Ice Palace. There was no other way. Big bro Lin Yi, Xiaoqi believes that you can successfully make the Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill and give it to the Ice Palace to get Xiao Xiao's sis back. Chi-Chi encouraged as she looked at Lin Yi. She had always been very confident in Lin Yi. Haha, I'll work hard. I'm prepared to get an Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill for this Sky Elixir test, but I don't know if the Sky Elixir sect will set any obstacles. Lin Yi's relationship with the Sky Elixir sect wasn't very good right now, especially with Kong Mingming there. That guy was the 8th elder, after all. If he said a few bad things about him in front of the head and young master of the Sky Elixir sect, the impression the Sky Elixir sect had of him would plummet. Plus, with his relationship with the 5 Elemental School, would the Sky Elixir sect really make him an Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill? Lin Yi didn't think that it was possible, but he had to try. Let's not talk about that for now. Let's talk about Xiaojiu. Xiaojiu's situation is similar to Xiao Xiao's, but there's a difference. Xiao Xiao only needs to practice the Ice Palace's arts and she can avoid death, but Xiaojiu is different. Xiaojiu must accept the inheritance to be able to live forever. Lin Yi said worriedly, but it's very dangerous for Xiaojiu to do that. This is a difficult problem. No matter what, we should ask for Xiaojiu's opinion first? All right then, I'll call her? Chi-Chi said after some thought. Yes, you talk to her. Lin Yi nodded. The first thing Tu Jinxing and Tu Jinxing did after returning to their room was to call the sect. This was a call from Tu Zhenxing himself. Uncle, I'm Tu Zhenxing. This was the first call Tu Zhenxing made after recovering. It was too late last night, so Tu Zhenxing didn't call right away. Tu Zhenxing, you've recovered? That fast? Tu Qingsong thought that even if Linny agreed to heal him, it wouldn't be something that could be healed in a short amount of time. It would take at least a few days, or even a month. He didn't think that he would be healed on the second day. Actually, I was healed last night, but it can't be considered a full recovery. My meridians haven't recovered yet. Tu Zhenxing shook his head. It was too late last night, so I didn't call you, uncle. That fast. Tu Qingsong's expression changed. It seemed that his decision back then was right. How could the young people related to those two not be strong? Healing Tu Zhenxing's injuries this quickly wouldn't take too long for his meridians to recover. With that thought, Tu Qingsong quickly asked, Tu Zhenxing, did she tell you what I meant? Uncle, you're talking about building a good relationship with Boss Lin Yi? Tu Zhenxing paused. He was just about to report this to his uncle, but he didn't think that his uncle would be even more anxious than him. That's right. You've already recognized him as boss? Tu Qingsong paid attention to the way Tu Zhenxing addressed Lin Yi. Not really. In the morning, I went to the restaurant to find him. This was what happened. Tu Zhenxing told Tu Qingsong about how he shamelessly called Lin Yi boss in the restaurant. However, boss Lin Yi didn't deny it. He didn't strongly reject it. That's good. Tu Qingsong was relieved. Tu Zhenxing, you did a good job. This trip to the Central Plains wasn't in vain. Although you didn't participate in the Heavenly Elixir Sex trial, your harvest has far exceeded the trial. If you have a good relationship with Lin Yi, it may bring great benefits to our Yellow Earth sect in the future. Yes, I know. Tu Zhenxing nodded. Uncle, have you heard of Lin Yi? Tu Zhenxing knew Tu Qingsong's personality very well. He recognized Lin Yi as his boss only because of his admiration for Lin Yi. He couldn't beat Zhang Naipeo, but Lin Yi could, and had even healed his injuries. These were all reasons why Tu Zhenxing respected Lin Yi. But these reasons weren't enough to move Tu Qingsong, to make him approve of the relationship between Tu Zhenxing and Lin Yi. But now, Tu Qingsong was uncharacteristically approving, and Tu Zhenxing was confused. Don't ask about these things. It's not good for you to know too early. It might not be a good thing for you to interact with him with a fearful heart. Tu Qingsong shook his head. Chapter 2898. In short, you don't have to ask. Just continue as before. Tu Qingsong didn't explain further. What happened back then had shocked the entire ancient sect. Although it had been a long time, many ancient sects avoided talking about it. Okay. Tu Overlord didn't ask any more questions after hearing his uncle's words. Instead, he changed the topic. Uncle, there's something important I have to report to you. Oh? What else? Tu Qingsong asked. The earth essence fluid that Boss Lin Yi asked for was not for an earth cultivator to use when they went berserk, but for Earth Inheritor. Tu Overlord said, and told Tu Qingsong about what he had discussed with Lin Yi. Earth Element Inheritor? Tu Qingsong's pupil shrank, and his breathing quickened. Tu Overlord didn't know what it meant for Lin Yi to have an Earth Inheritor by his side, but Tu Qingsong immediately thought of what happened back then. That Earth Inheritor was very likely his daughter, Tu Ranran, who had been taken away by those two people. And Lin Yi was one of the two, Lin Dongfang's grandson. That explained why his daughter was with Lin Yi and they were friends. That explained everything. Back then, Tu Ranran was born in a special way. Because the bloodline of the Yellow Earth High Sect wouldn't give birth to a daughter, they had to use a special method. However, although Tu Ranran was born smoothly, she was weak and sickly from a young age. However, the Yellow Earth High Sect's mantra was targeted at male cultivators. Female inheritors would only start cultivating after receiving the inheritance. Therefore, in order to cultivate, Tu Ranran had to reach the minimum age to receive the inheritance. Then, after receiving the inheritance, she had to break through to the heaven stage before the age of 20 to be safe. As long as she successfully received the inheritance, there would be no barrier to breaking through. Breaking through to the heaven stage wouldn't be too difficult, but the key was that Tu Ranran couldn't hold on any longer. She couldn't wait until the age to receive the inheritance. Tu Qingsong and his father, Tu Wanghai, sought medical help everywhere for this matter, but to no avail. Just as they were about to lose hope, a traveling merchant who traveled between the Central Plains, the Western regions, and the Miao territory brought good news to the Lus Highness sect. In the Miao region, there was a divine doctor named Lin Dongfang. His medical skills were unfathomable, and he was worth a try. Tu Wanghai was overjoyed and immediately brought Tu Ranran, along with the traveling merchants, towards the Miao region. However, this divine doctor Lin Dongfang did not have a fixed residence, and the traveling merchants did not know where he lived, so they could only try their luck at the market. Lin Dongfang had to go to the market for a period of time to treat patients from other villages. Hence, Tu Wanghai really met him. Lin Dongfang was a doctor in the market. Naturally, he would receive all kinds of patients. Although he could tell that Tu Wanghai was abnormal, he still followed the rules and checked on Tu Ranran's condition. However, after checking it out, Lin Dongfang let out a puzzled huh. Seeing Lin Dongfang's expression, Tu Wanghai immediately asked, "Doctor, can my granddaughter be saved? Her body is abnormally weak, and there's no sign of life. I can't tell the specific problem, but it won't be a problem for her to follow me and live until she's 15. Lin Dongfang pondered for a moment and said, "Follow you?" Tu Wanghai was slightly stunned, but he understood Lin Dongfang's meaning. "Doctor, you mean that my granddaughter must live by your side before you can treat her?" "That's right. Her body isn't something that can be recuperated overnight. Her problem is very serious. I need to prescribe the right medicine. The medicine that I prescribe for each period of time is different. I need to tailor the medicine according to the condition of her body." Lin Dongfang nodded his head and said, "Then, doctor, can you come to live in our house? Don't worry, I will pay multiple times the consultation fees. All you have to do is to treat my granddaughter full-time. I will also compensate you for your other medical expenses. I will pay for your consultation fees every day. What do you think?" Tu Wanghai immediately said, "I can't go." Lin Dongfang said faintly, "If you want to be treated, stay here. If you don't want to be treated, you can leave." "Do you know who you are talking to?" Before Tu Wanghai could answer, one of his followers got anxious and wanted to kick Lin Dongfang's medicine stall over. They came from an ancient sect. No matter where they went, they were all high and mighty. Lin Dongfang was just a small Jianghu doctor, yet he dared to be so arrogant. This follower was naturally unhappy. "Tu Qingshui, back off." Tu Wanghai naturally knew that he couldn't offend Lin Dongfang at this moment. His follower was a little too hot-tempered. However, it was too late for him to stop. That follower was also a heaven-rank middle-stage expert. Even if he didn't use any martial technique, the speed of his kick was faster than Tu Wanghai's words. Just as he was about to kick Lin Dongfang's medicine stall away, his leg was easily caught by a hand. Going out to walk a dog is naturally good, but sometimes a mad dog will spoil things. Lin Dongfang looked at Tu Wanghai and said faintly, "I will throw this dog away for you." After saying that, Lin Dongfang lightly raised his hand and Tu Qingshui flew out, landing heavily in the rubbish pile far away. Tu Wanghai was a little shocked. He looked at Lin Dongfang in front of him in shock. Just now, he had made a mistake. The person in front of him was actually an expert. Moreover, it was very likely that he was a very high-level physical expert. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to throw Tu Qingshui out so easily. Even if Tu Qingshui didn't use any martial technique, he wouldn't be thrown out so easily. "Doctor, I'm sorry. My follower was a little anxious. Please forgive him." Tu Wanghai quickly apologized. "You were right. When I go back, I will still punish him." Tu Qingshui, who had fallen into the rubbish pile, had already regained his senses. Only then did he realize that he was wrong. Yes, it was very likely that he was also an expert. He didn't use any martial technique, and the other party didn't use any martial technique either. However, when he was caught by the other party, he immediately used his true qi to struggle free. However, the other party still didn't use his true qi and threw him out. Then, there were only two possibilities in this situation. The other party was a very high-level internal expert, higher than his level, or The other party was a very high-level physical expert. He didn't need to use the surrounding heaven and earth's spiritual energy. Just by relying on the tyrannical strength of his body, he could ignore his true chi and throw him out. Chapter 2899. I'm in trouble. I'm in big trouble. If I really offend such an expert, he might just leave. What about Tu Ran, the little princess of the Yellow Soil sect? Who would treat her? Fortunately, Lin Dongfang didn't seem to have any intention of leaving. That's your problem, Lin Dongfang said indifferently. Yes. Tu Wanghai didn't mention these things anymore. Instead, he looked at Lin Dongfang anxiously. Then, my granddaughter's illness? She is a patient. A mad dog is a mad dog. Since I'm here, there's no reason for me to ignore her. Lin Dongfang was clear about gratitude and grudges. However, I've already given her the treatment plan. Either she follows me and I guarantee that she will live to 15, or you take her away. I'm afraid she won't be able to survive next year. Tu Wanghai immediately fell into a dilemma. He wouldn't feel at ease if Tu Ran stayed here alone. Tu Ran was only 2 years old. She didn't know anything and couldn't remember anything. As for Tu Wanghai, he was the sect master of the Yellow Soil sect. Naturally, he couldn't leave the sect and stay with Tu Ran. However, if he didn't agree, Tu Ran might die. Tu Wanghai felt that Lin Dongfang wasn't being alarmist. Many doctors had seen her and said that Tu Ran wouldn't live past 3 years old. Hence, Tu Wanghai was in a dilemma. Old man, do you want me to read your fortune for you? It's very cheap. Just 1 million. Just as Tu Wanghai was hesitating, a voice came from beside him. It gave him a fright. He quickly turned his head and saw a fortune teller dressed in Taoist attire beside Lin Dongfang's medicine stall. The stall of the person dressed in Taoist attire was very simple. There was only a small banner with the words, Ancestral Fortune Telling. No refunds. Only 100. Tu Wanghai saw that the banner only required 100 and was instantly angered. Do you think I don't know how to read? Only 100, and you want me to pay 1 million? What kind of person is the price? Forget it if you don't want it. Just don't regret it. The fortune teller dressed in Taoist attire shook his head and didn't mind. Only a ghost would believe you. Tu Wanghai snorted and turned around, ignoring him. If it was any other time, he would definitely teach this profiteer a lesson. But today, he was not in the mood, nor did he want to complicate matters. You're right. Even ghosts believe in me. The Taoist fortune teller nodded. However, Tu Wanghai ignored him and pretended not to hear anything. He treated this Taoist fortune teller as an ordinary swindler. However, at this time, an old farmer walked over to the fortune teller's stall. He respectfully handed over a $100 bill and asked sincerely, Mr. Imo, may I ask when it will rain? The melons in my field are dying of drought. If it doesn't rain within a month, I will take my son and daughter-in-law to work elsewhere and give up on our melon fields. Please give me a suggestion. Let's go back. It's going to rain today. The fortune teller called Mr. Imo said, without even trying to predict the future. Is it going to rain today? That's great. I'll go back and wait for you. The farmer said with endless gratitude, You're welcome. This Mr. Imo was naturally Lin Dongfang's good friend of many years, Imo Kongwan. What a joke. Tu Wanghai was vexed and did not know what to do. When he heard such a huge scam, he immediately found a way to vent. It's going to rain today? How can it rain on such a sunny day? Do you think you're a weather forecaster? Rain on a sunny day? Drenching a tortoise? Old farmer, you've been scammed. Idiot, drenching a tortoise. I'll be drenching you in a while. The farmer looked at Tu Wanghai with disdain. He curled his lips and turned to leave. You don't know what's good for you. Tu Wanghai was infuriated. However, as an ancient-era cultivator, why would he bother with an old farmer? He could only shake his head gloomily. You don't know what's good for you. Tu Wanghai was infuriated. However, as an ancient-era cultivator, why would he bother with an old farmer? He could only shake his head gloomily. He was dissatisfied with this fortune teller who took advantage of the situation and felt that it was a pity for the old farmer's stupidity. However, at this moment, there was a sudden boom in the clear sky. A sudden clap of thunder was heard, followed by a flash of lightning. Following that, a heavy downpour poured down from the sky, directly drenching Tu Wanghai's heart. However, at this moment, Tu Wanghai did not feel that he was unlucky to be drenched by the rain. Deep in his heart, he was deeply shocked. He turned his head and looked at the calm Mo Kongwen in disbelief. He suddenly came to a realization. "Sir, I'm sorry. I was rude just now. You're not as old as me. You don't have to flaunt your seniority in front of me," Mo Kongwen said faintly. "As for whether I was rude or not, there's no way to talk about it. You're not my customer. You can say whatever you want." Tu Wanghai was a heaven-ranked cultivator. He did not think that Mo Kongwen was faking it previously. This heavy downpour came without any warning. Even he did not notice it. It seemed like Mo Kongwen really had some skills. Therefore, Tu Wanghai immediately became extremely respectful. "Senior, in your opinion, I should now." Mo Kongwen stretched out his hand and gestured with his finger. "Tu Qingshui, come out." Tu Wanghai turned his head and looked in the direction of the rubbish pile. "Don't play dead. I'll punish you when we get back." "Yes, Sect Master." Tu Qingshui hurriedly climbed out of the rubbish pile and walked over carefully. There were still 2 broken vegetable leaves on his head, and it was raining. He looked like a drowned rat, and he was as pathetic as one could imagine. "Give me the checkbook," Tu Wanghai said. "Yes." Tu Qingshui quickly took out the checkbook from his backpack and passed it to Tu Wanghai. Tu Wanghai did not say anything else. He immediately signed a 1 million check and passed it to Mo Kongwen. "Senior, you see, if you hand your granddaughter over to old Lin for treatment, I can guarantee that not only will your granddaughter not die before she turns 3, she won't die before she turns 15. Mo Kongwen accepted the check and said casually, "Moreover, she will live to 100 years old and bring good fortune to your entire sect." Chapter 2900. If it wasn't for the sunny days and the rainy days previously, Tu Wanghai would definitely scoff at Mo Kongwen's words. But now, he didn't think so. Instead, he asked, "Senior, can you be more specific?" "Specific? This?" Mo Kongwen said half a sentence and stopped. "Senior, here's 1 million. Tu Wanghai immediately signed another check and handed it to Mo Kongwen. The money was nothing to him. As long as Mo Kongwen's words were really useful, it was worth it. "All right, to tell you the truth, your granddaughter will find a good man in the future. Then, your granddaughter's life will become smooth sailing, and then, everything will go smoothly," said Mo Kongwen. "Oh." Tu Wanghai listened to Mo Kongwen's words thoughtfully. Although it was a little simple, the matter was very clear. Finally, Tu Wanghai nodded and said, "Doctor, my granddaughter can stay with you, but how can I find her in the future? If you want to find me, you can come to the market to look for her. If you can't find her for now, I will send her to a place that is more suitable for her treatment. 5 years later, when her condition stabilizes, I can bring you to see her, but you can't take her away. Otherwise, she will still die," Lin Dongfang said faintly. "This? All right." Tu Wanghai gritted his teeth and replied, "Doctor, can she live until the age of 16? As long as she can live until the age of 16, I can pay any price." 16 years old was the minimum age requirement for the Yellow Earth High Sect's inheritance. Only at the age of 16 could a girl comprehend the inheritance. Hence, this was also the reason why Tu Wanghai required her to be 16 years old. "No matter what, I will try my best, but I can't guarantee anything now." Lin Dongfang shook his head. "All right, doctor, do your best." Tu Wanghai could only do so. After all, this was the best solution at the moment. After settling Tu Ranran down and paying the medical fees, Tu Wanghai brought Tu Qingshui back to the Yellow Earth High Sect. This trip made Tu Wanghai sigh with emotion. He had never expected that there would be 2 masters in that remote place. In the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed. Tu Wanghai missed his granddaughter, Tu Ranran, and wanted to set off for Miaojiang again. But at this time, 2 ruthless people suddenly appeared in the pugilistic world. These 2 people appeared without any warning. They just appeared out of thin air and swept through all the ancient sects in the Central Plains. They instantly killed a few heaven stage elites and gained the title of Vajra's dual fiends. Everyone in the Jianghu had their expressions change when they talked about them. These two people, under the banner of helping the perfect perfection heaven rank late phase experts break through the heavenly Tao, gathered all the perfect perfection heaven rank late phase experts from the ancient sects of the Central Plains together. Of course, there were also many experts who were unconvinced. Why should they listen to his orders? However, the first stop of their journey was the everyday and everyday sect. Of these two people, one was fine after taking a blow from a peak late-stage perfect perfection master, while the other casually waved his fist and killed the everyday and everyday sect's patriarch, Mad Dragon Patriarch, who was at peak late-stage perfect perfection heaven rank. That Mad Dragon Patriarch was the primordial spirit of the Mad Dragon Patriarch who had possessed Zhong Pingliang. Back then, he died tragically under the fists of these two ruthless people and became the first victim to be killed as a warning to others. Then, they went to the Holy Fist Palace and many other ancient sections. The perfect perfection heaven rank late phase experts who followed them were fine. They promised to help them set foot on the heavenly Tao, but after they set foot on the heavenly Tao, they had to do something for them. Those who did not follow them went to the road to hell. Later, those perfect perfection heaven rank late phase experts of the ancient sects, after waiting for the arrival of these two people, all welcomed them with smiles and offered to follow them. Legend had it that these two people were elites in the Tao of Heaven, and their words were naturally trustworthy. Some of the followers were willing, and some were forced to follow them. No matter what, they obediently followed these two people and left. Then, they were never heard from again. This matter was very strange. After they left, there was no news of them in Jianghu. Back then, Tu Qingsong's father, Tu Wanghai, took the initiative to invite these two people to the Yellow Earth High sect. Firstly, Tu Wanghai was worried about Tu Ranran's situation. Secondly, he had been stuck at the peak late-stage perfect perfection heaven rank for too long. If he did not advance to the heavenly Tao, he was afraid that he would die of old age. Tu Wanghai did not know if he could survive until the day when the Heavenly Island plan was launched, so he took the initiative to invite the two ruthless people, the twin killers of King Kong, to the Yellow Earth High sect. The Yellow Earth High sect was located in the West region. The two ruthless people were in a hurry and did not intend to come, but since they were invited by Tu Wanghai, they still came. The two people that other sects avoided like the plague were treated with incomparable passion by Tu Wanghai. There was no other reason, because one of the twin killers of King Kong was the miracle doctor who treated Tu Ranran, Lin Dongfang. The reason why Tu Wanghai knew was that although he did not see the twin killers of King Kong with his own eyes, their portraits had spread to all the ancient sects, and Tu Wanghai naturally got one of them. When Tu Wanghai saw the familiar face of Lin Dongfang in the picture, he was immediately stunned. What? That miracle doctor from Yaojiang was actually a heavenly Tao master? No wonder he was able to cure Tu Ranran and throw Tu Qingshui away with a casual toss of his hand. As for Tu Qingshui, when he saw the portrait, cold sweat flowed down his back. He was extremely shocked. That year, he actually scolded a heavenly Tao master and was not beaten to death. What a joyous occasion. This was simply a great stroke of luck. Lin Dongfang smiled faintly when he saw Tu Wanghai again. The person beside him was Yang Qiqi's father, Lin Yi's master. He did not speak much and only nodded at Tu Wanghai. Tu Wanghai did not dare to neglect these two legendary heavenly Tao masters. He personally welcomed them from 1,000 miles away from the sect. When he saw Lin Dongfang and Mr. Yang, he immediately cupped his fist and walked up to them respectfully. Yellow Earth High Sect's master, Tu Wanghai, greets the two seniors. No need to be so polite. We are not strangers anymore. Lin Dongfang waved his hand and said, "Did you ask us to come here because of your granddaughter, or?" Chapter 2901. This is Yang Ming, my sworn brother. Lin Dongfang introduced. He had some relationship with Tu Wanghai. Naturally, Lin Dongfang wouldn't put on a domineering attitude like he did with the other ancient sections. This senior Yang Ming was naturally Yang Qiqi's father, Lin Yi's master. However, Lin Yi would never have dreamed that his master and his old man were such powerful figures in the past. However, after this incident, Yang Ming left, and Lin Dongfang once again lived in seclusion in the mountains. These ancient sects that suffered losses were all scared out of their wits. They kept their mouths shut about this incident, and no one would take the initiative to ask about it. As for Lin Dongfang, due to some reason, he also kept his mouth shut about the incident in the past. As time passed, this incident was gradually buried. Tu Wanghai greets Senior Yang. Tu Wanghai said solemnly. Yang Ming waved his hand indifferently and said, "Since you are big brother Lin's old friend, then you don't have to be so polite. Tell us why you are looking for us." Yes, Tu Wanghai didn't dare to play any tricks. He only spoke the truth. I invited the two of you here. Firstly, it's because of my own matters. I have been stuck at Heaven class late phase, peak great perfection for too long. If I don't advance to Heaven's path soon, I'm afraid I will die of old age. Both of you are Heaven's path experts, and you are currently recruiting Heaven class late phase, peak great perfection experts to advance to Heaven's path. So, I would like to recommend myself. Oh, most of the other sects avoid us. You, on the other hand, took the initiative to look for us? Yang Ming looked at Tu Wanghai with interest and asked, "Aren't you afraid that I will lie to you?" Others would naturally think so, but I have seen Senior Lin Dongfang before. I know that you won't lie to me. Tu Wanghai said firmly. Hee, we won't lie to you. But, let me say the ugly words first. We helped you advance to Heaven's path, so you have to follow us to do something. Yang Ming smiled and said, "Are you willing?" Of course. Senior helped me advance to the heavenly Tao, so it's reasonable for me to help Senior. There's nothing to shirk. Tu Wanghai nodded and said, "It's my duty." Good, then you can pack up and leave with us. Lin Dongfang said with satisfaction, "All right. Secondly, I want to ask, how is my granddaughter's illness?" Tu Wanghai asked. Your granddaughter? I've taken her in as my goddaughter. Right now, under the care of Big Brother Lin's medicine, her body is still very good. However, I didn't tell her about her background. I don't want her to feel any pressure. Yang Ming said, "This time, if you go with us, you can see her. You can just look at her from a distance. Don't say anything to her." I understand. Tu Wanghai hurriedly agreed. He also knew that allowing Tu Ranran to be carefree and without any psychological pressure would be beneficial to her growth. Otherwise, if she was troubled all day long, even Lin Dongfang wouldn't be able to help her even if he was a divine doctor. Well, if that's the case, then let's go. Things are more urgent. If you guys advance to Heaven's way together, we can rush to support earlier and return earlier. Yang Ming said, "No problem. Seniors, I'll go pack up and leave with you." Although Tu Wanghai didn't know what they were going to support, he didn't ask much. Since it was decided, then let's go. Who cared what it was? At this time, Tu Qingsong was already the young sect master of the Yellow Earth High sect. Every day, he followed Tu Wanghai and learned how to deal with some sect affairs. Therefore, he was very familiar with what happened in the past. After Tu Wanghai left, Tu Qingsong inherited the position of sect master. However, what he didn't expect was that his father and the two seniors left for more than 10 years without any news. All these years, Tu Wanghai also inquired about other ancient sections. He asked if there was any news of their sect master, great elder, or supreme elder who left. However, no one had any news. These people just disappeared into thin air. Then, in everyone's opinion, these people were probably no longer in this world. What happened in the past was probably a scam. The two Heaven's Way masters took away and killed those peak late-stage Heaven stage great perfection experts. Of course, there were all kinds of theories. Some said that the Heaven's Way masters were another level of strength. These people cultivated in another place. That place was Heaven Stage Island. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth there was incomparable. After these people advanced to Heaven's Way, they were restricted by Heaven's Way and couldn't leave Heaven Stage Island at will. Anyway, everyone had different opinions. Everyone was just guessing. Even if what those people said was true, that the Heaven's Way masters couldn't leave Heaven Stage Island at will, Tu Qingsong also wanted to know the whereabouts of Tu Ranran. However, When he went to Miaojiang with Tu Qingshui again to look for Lin Dongfang, he found that the market was long gone. There was a landslide there, and the original market was now full of rocks. Miaojiang was huge. How could Tu Qingsong have time to search slowly? Moreover, even if he searched, he might not be able to find her. Wasn't it said that Tu Ranran was sent to Senior Yangming? Therefore, Tu Qingsong could only return to the western region with Tu Qingshui. Now, Tu Qingsong suddenly got the news of the descendants of those two people. He was excited, but he didn't dare to immediately ask Linny about the whereabouts of the two seniors. He could only let Tu Overlord and Linny get familiar with each other first, and then find a chance to ask in the future. Chapter 2902. That's right. Although I didn't manage to find any news of my sister during my trip to the Central Plains this time, I unexpectedly found another Earth-type inheritor. It's really a case of planted flowers don't bloom. Tu Overlord nodded and said, by the way, isn't it only the bloodline of our Yellow Earth High Sect that can inherit and comprehend the Earth-type power? Why are there other Earth-type inheritors other than our family? Oh, our Yellow Earth High Sect has been passed down for 1,000 years. There should be some collateral branches, Tu Qingsong said casually. Collateral branches? There are? It was Tu Overlord's first time hearing that the Yellow Earth High Sect had collateral branches, so he was a little surprised. Of course. How about this? Can you look for Mr. Lin Yi and ask for the Earth-type inheritor's photo and name for me to take a look? Tu Qingsong asked. What do you want a name and photo for? Tu Overlord was taken aback. He didn't understand what Tu Qingsong meant. What did the name and photo have to do with whether Lin Yi's friend was an Earth-type inheritor or not? Oh, didn't I say it? She might be from a collateral branch of our Yellow Earth High Sect, Tu Qingsong said. Is that so? Uncle, do you think it's possible that she's my long-lost cousin? Tu Overlord made an even bolder deduction after hearing Tu Qingsong's words. Tu Qingsong was shocked. He didn't expect Tu Overlord to directly link it to Tu Ranran from a collateral branch. However, it was normal for Tu Overlord to have his suspicions back then. It was just that Tu Overlord had less evidence than him. Under the guidance of a collateral branch, Tu Overlord also made such a deduction. Uncle, although my deduction might shock you, it's not impossible. When Tu Qingsong heard Tu Qingsong's he thought that he was shocked by his deduction. It's indeed possible. Tu Qingsong smiled bitterly. He originally wanted to hide it for the time being, but who knew that Tu Overlord would guess it himself? If that's the case, then Boss Lin Yi might have become my brother-in-law? Tu Xiaowang's thoughts kept jumping. In his opinion, since Lin Yi was seeking medicine for Tu Ranran, then his relationship with Tu Ranran must be extraordinary. Perhaps they were confidants. Tyrant, what are you thinking? Tu Qingsong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Besides, didn't you say that there's a girl by Mr. Lin Yi's side? You're talking about Yang Qiqi? Mr. Lin Yi's so strong. There's no way he only has one woman, right? And from what I see, Yang Qiqi calls Lin Yi boss brother. Maybe they're siblings. As for Qiqi, Tu Hejimin didn't think much of it. People at his level didn't have the concept of monogamy at all. She was an ancient sect, after all, and they still followed the rules of the olden days. Yang Qiqi. Tu Qingsong froze at the name. You're saying, that girl's called Yang Qiqi? Yeah, what's wrong, uncle? Tu Xiaowang felt like his uncle was acting a little weird today. Yang Qiqi's surname was Yang, and the other Heaven's Path elite was called Yang Ming. Could they be related? The more Tu Xiaowang thought about it, the more plausible it seemed. Otherwise, why would Qiqi be with Lin Yi? But he couldn't tell Tu Xiaowang too much about this. It's nothing, it's a good name. Good name? Tu Xiaowang was a little surprised. Were numbered names popular now? But it didn't seem as domineering as his own name. Yes, it's a good name. Tu Qingsong said seriously. All right, I'll try my best to ask. Tu Xiaowang was a little surprised at his uncle's sudden change in taste, but it wasn't his place to ask. In Yang Qiqi's room, Qiqi relayed what Tu Xiaowang said to Jiao, who was a little shocked on the other side. He went silent after Qiqi was done. I'm sorry, Jiao. but I'm afraid this is the best solution. I couldn't find a better way to help you. Chi-Chi could understand how Ji was feeling right now. After all, Ji was going to the Yellow Earth High Sect to accept their legacy, and there was something he had to do that could bring danger to Gio. Don't say that, Chi-Jia. You and Bro have been running around for me all this time, and I can't thank you enough. Ju said. It's just that I don't want to be separated from you. The Yellow Earth High Sect is in the western region. It'll be hard for us to meet again. Plus, what about the hacker mission? I've let it go. There's no one here to take over. We'll have to let Mrs. Zhou take over for now, Chi-Chi said. I want to ask you, Gio, what are your real thoughts? You and Ebro have both embarked on the path of cultivation. I don't want to fall behind either, Jiu said weakly after a moment of silence. Chi-Chi paused, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. So, deep in Jia's heart, he didn't want to pull too far away from her and Lin Yi. Lin Yi was already standing at a very high position in the world of cultivation, and she would also work hard. But Jiu couldn't, and the gap between the three would only become more and more obvious in the future. It was reasonable for Gio to have this thought. Okay, then I'll tell Lin Yi bro what you mean. Chi-Chi confirmed Gio's meaning and nodded. Okay, Jiu nodded. Hanging up, Chi-Chi went to Lin Yi's room to find Lin Yi. Chi-Chi, you and Jiu are done? Lin Yi opened the door and was a bit surprised to see Chi-Chi. He didn't think that there would be a result so soon. Lin Yi thought that Chi-Chi and Jiu would talk until midnight. Yeah, Jiu said that she's willing to become a practitioner and accept the inheritance. She doesn't want to be too far away from us. Chi-Chi said, okay, if that's the case, I'll go find Tuoba now. Lin Yi didn't say much, and he didn't need to. He understood Jia's thoughts. Just like the miss back then, she also wanted to train and didn't want to be too far away from him. Thinking of the miss, Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh softly. He'd been out for a while now, and he didn't know if she was doing well. Chapter 2903. She was the one he was supposed to take care of the most when he returned to the city, because that was his mission. However, he often neglected her. After leaving the room, Lin Yi went straight to Tu Xiaowang's room and knocked. Diamond Star, right? The door isn't locked. Come in. Tu Xiaowang had just ended his call with Tu Qingsong, thinking that it was Earth Diamond Star. It's me. Lin Yi pushed the door open and said, it's Boss Lin Yi. Tu Xiaowang jumped off the bed and ran to the door to greet Lin Yi. What are you in such a rush for? Lin Yi frowned after this period of interaction. He could tell that Tua wasn't a scheming person, but he was a hothead when it came to handling things. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gotten hurt by Naipeo. But then again, which of these disciples of the ancient sects wasn't prideful? They were the elites of their sects, and when they went out, they naturally didn't like each other. It was normal for them to have conflicts. Hee, Boss Lin Yi, why are you looking for me? Tu Xiaowang didn't mind at all. This was his personality, and he didn't care what Lin Yi said about him. Let me ask you, that friend of mine, after receiving the inheritance, does she have to do that annoying mission to open the island? Lin Yi asked straightforwardly. Since Little Nine didn't have any objections, Lin Yi naturally wanted to fight for more benefits for her. Doesn't she want to ascend to Sky Dao? Tu Xiaowang asked suspiciously. As far as he was concerned, nothing was more important than a practitioner being able to step into Sky Dao. Wasn't this the pursuit of all practitioners? It was the same for Tu Overlord and the people around him. It was the same for his grandfather in the past. Therefore, Tu Overlord felt that it was natural for cultivators to pursue the heavenly way. It had been like this since ancient times. Although what inheritors did was a little dangerous, it was equivalent to obtaining a ticket to the Heaven Stage Island after success. After all, it hadn't been long since the Heavenly Island opened the sealed passage, and the number of cultivators that could enter was limited. Not just anyone could enter as they wished. These quotas were determined through the Heavenly Island Conference, and it wasn't an exaggeration to say that they fought to the death for it. Everyone has their own ambitions. I'm just asking. Lin Yi asked without any change in his expression. Most importantly, he didn't want the people around him to have too much relationship with the Five Elements sect and the Heavenly Elixir sect. Actually, once your friend successfully comprehends the legacy, that place will definitely sense it. If she accepts the legacy and doesn't participate in the plan, not only will our Lus Earth sect be blamed and attacked by that place, they won't let your friend off either. They'll definitely send people to capture her and bring her back. Two overlords said, "This is also the reason why I said that after your friend accepts the legacy, she must carry out that plan. Boss Lin E, I don't deny that you're very powerful, but the people from that place are unexpectedly powerful. Their unique skills are all real ancient divine skills, and some even have immemorial divine skills. We can't match them." Lin E nodded. He had naturally experienced the strength of the people from the Five Elements sect. Tagan Long, the weakest among them, was already very powerful. Tian Chan, Little 11, and Little 1 were all super powerhouses, not to mention Ancestor Xianchen, who had always been hiding behind the scenes. I've fought with the people from the Five Elements sect a few times, so I know how powerful they are, Lin said in agreement. What? Two Overlord was shocked after hearing Lin Yi's words. Boss, you fought with the people from the Five Elements sect? A few times? Then you didn't die? Of course, I don't mean to look down on you, nor do I mean to curse you to death. I mean, hee, there's no need to explain. I understand. Lin smiled faintly. Every time it's extremely dangerous, and I almost died. Their medium was crippled by me. They've always wanted to kill me, but they're currently in a delicate state of balance. They're a little afraid. F***CK. Boss is really boss, too powerful. Two overlords said in surprise. Even the Five Elements sect doesn't dare to act rashly? It's not that they don't dare, they're just a little afraid. Lin Yi was not arrogant to this extent. He just said, but it's only a delicate balance. Once my friend inherits the legacy, I'm afraid it'll be like what you said. The Five Elements sect won't let her go easily. Yes, so instead of being captured by the Five Elements sect after she leaves, it's better to stay in our Yellow Earth sect. We can protect her safety during this period of time. Two Overlord nodded. In that case, I'll think about it. Lin Yi did not immediately agree. Although Little 9 had already agreed, but Lin Yi still had a responsible attitude towards Little 9. He had to carefully weigh the pros and cons for her. Boss Lin Yi, there's something I want to ask. Seeing that Lin Yi did not agree, Two Overlord's heart tightened, and he could not help but ask. Oh, what's the matter? Just say it. Lin Yi waved his hand. I don't like to be wishy-washy. If there's something, just say it. Okay, how old is your friend this year? Can you tell me her name? Tu Xiaowang asked carefully. Oh, why do you ask this? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. According to my uncle, only our Yellow Earth sect has the bloodline of the Yellow Earth sect. So far, no one else has it. So, your friend may be my long-lost sister. Two Overlord naturally did not dare to deceive Lin Yi, so he directly told the truth. Cough, cough. Lin Yi suddenly coughed after hearing it. How did Little 9 suddenly become Two Overlord's sister? Boss, don't laugh. I'm telling the truth. Really? Two Overlords saw Lin Yi's expression and suddenly laughed dryly. I really have a sister. She has been separated from me for many years. Are you saying that my friend might be your sister? Lin Yi saw that Two Overlord did not seem to be joking. He immediately frowned. Little 9 was indeed an orphan. She was his master's adopted daughter. In that case, it was really possible. Yes, so I'm just asking your friend's name and age. Two Overlord nodded. Chapter 2904. 17. As expected. A flash of surprise and joy appeared on Tua Xiaowang's face. The age is about the same, but the name. It doesn't matter. What's important is that she's an orphan. Yes, your sister is 17 as well? Lin Yi paused. Yeah, 17. Boss, do you have a picture of her? Tua Xiaowang asked. Yes. Lin Yi took out his phone and logged into the photo gallery. He found a picture and downloaded it to his phone, handing it to Tua Xiaowang. That's her. Me and young Chi-Chi. The one in the wheelchair is Lil Gio, but I don't think a picture is very useful. You weren't that old back then. You probably wouldn't have known her. Ugh, that's true. Tua Xiaowang realized that he'd wasted his time looking at the picture. He had no impression of his sister at all. This picture might be useful if he sent it to his uncle, Tu Qingsong. He shook his head. Can you send it to me? I'll send it to my uncle? Not at the moment. Linny declined. I'm not sure if there's a relationship between you and Lil Ju yet. I can show it to you, but I can't send it to you. After all, the picture was related to the assassin organization's secrets, and Lil Ju's image was confidential. Linny wouldn't give it to anyone before he was sure, not even Tua Xiaowang. I see. Tua Xiaowang was a little disappointed, but he remembered something and quickly asked, right? Does that Lil Ju have a pendant on her? A pendant made out of mud? And the word Earth is written on it? Tua Xiaowang had come to the Central Plains to look for his sister, and this was what he was relying on. That necklace was an item from the Yellow Earth sect, and it was his sister's identification item. She'd been wearing it since she was young. Oh. Lin Yi was a little surprised, but he was also a little confused. I do have a pendant made out of mud, but it has the word 9 on it, not Earth. 9 foot? That shouldn't be. Tua Xiaowang was taken aback as well, his eyes wide with confusion. All these things match. Is something wrong? 9? Earth? Linny suddenly thought of something and slammed the table, which shocked Tu Jun. However, Linny ignored him and asked directly, how do you write the word 2? It's just a normal 2 word. Tu Ba Wang was a little baffled. He didn't know why Linny asked this. I think I got it. The Earth character you guys carved on the pendant is a linked character, and the 2 horizontal lines are joined together to form the shape of the Z. Since it's a messy handwriting, it looks like a 9. Between us, we're using numbers to arrange each other's names. I'm 1, Chi-Chi's 7, and when it came to little 9, our first impressions, we thought that the character on her pendant was a coincidence, but it wasn't a 9, but a Earth character. Linny said, that's right. Tu Xiaowang also smacked his forehead and came to a realization. He then said excitedly, boss, from now on, you're my brother-in-law. Pfft. Ahem. Linny started coughing loudly. This Tu Ba Wang's thoughts were quite imaginative. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Lil Jiu and I are just siblings. At least for now. Linny wanted to say that it had nothing to do with Lil Jiu, but unknowingly Lil Jiu's bitter tone rang in his ears, and Lin Yi could only add, at least for now. But this addition made Tu Ba Wang's eyes light up. Haha, that's for sure. Brother-in-law boss, you won't reject this brother-in-law as your follower now, will you? Linny was speechless. What kind of relationship was this? But he knew that if he didn't agree, Tu Ba Wang might say something weird again. So he just nodded. Yeah, haha, that's great. My follower has finally become official. It seems that nepotism is really cool. Tu Ba Wang said proudly. I can send Lil Jia's photo to you, but you have to promise not to spread it. Linny was basically sure that Lil Jia was Tu Ba Wang's long-lost sister, so he agreed to give him the photo. It was just that Linny felt that things were a bit strange. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Boss, you can rest assured that I definitely won't spread it. Moreover, she is my sister. How can I hurt her? Tu Ba Wang promised. This matter is too sudden. I have to go back and communicate with Lil Ju first. As for whether she is willing to acknowledge you, I can't do anything about it. I will definitely not force her, so if she is not willing, I hope you guys won't force it. Linny reminded Tu Ba Wang. Don't worry, boss, we'll do it step by step. We won't force it. Tu Ba Wang quickly replied. Linny left Tu Ba Wang's place and went to young Chi-Chi in shock. He told Chi-Chi about what he had told Tu Ba Wang. What happened today was simply too shocking. Chi-Chi listened to Lin Yi's story, and her face was very interesting. She didn't think that Lil Jia was Tu Ba Wang's sister. This was a bit too much. Then, do we become relatives with Tu Ba Wang? Chi-Chi was a bit troubled. She didn't really like Tu Ba Wang's personality. There's nothing we can do about it. Tu Ba Wang may be a bit arrogant, but he's not an idiot. He doesn't act like he is in front of us. Let him be. Linny smiled bitterly. This time, no matter what, I have to fix his meridians. Of course, this is just a small thing. The problem is, can Lil Ju accept this reality? I'll talk to Lil Ju about it. It's her family, after all. I don't know why they got separated back then, but it's good to be able to find her family. Chi-Chi said. Yeah. Lin Yi agreed. Lin Yi didn't really care about his parentage, and he didn't seem to care too much about the fact that he didn't have parents, but deep in Lin Yi's heart, he still wanted to see his parents. It was a kind of faith. Chapter 2905. And from the looks of it, they were very important friends, too. Otherwise, Tu Chingsong didn't think that Lin Yi and Chi-Chi would be running around for something like this. Tu Xiaowang, you've done well. I didn't think that you'd mature quite a bit after not participating in the test. Tu Chingsong said with praise. Uncle. Tu Xiaowang smiled bitterly. How could one grow without setbacks? He'd been crippled by Zhang Naipeo, and that was how he'd learned that there was always someone better than him. Email me the photo. Actually, it doesn't matter if you look at it or not. We can be sure now that little Ju is Ranran. You just need to think of a way to get Mr. Lin Yi to send her back to our Yellow Earth sect. Tu Chingsong said, feeling a little emotional at this point. Could it be that the fortune teller his father met back then was true? Tu Ranran's fate had changed because of her man? Wasn't this person talking about Lin Yi? Tu Chingsong could tell from Tu Xiaowang's words that the relationship between Lin Yi and little Ju wasn't normal. So he came to this conclusion. It seemed that his father's decision back then was a wise one. That 2 million was well spent, and not only was Tu Ranran fine, the Yellow Earth sect had a powerful helper. Other people didn't know about Lin Yi's background, but Tu Chingsong knew it all too well. It seemed that Lin Yi's position in the world wasn't looking too good, and if the Yellow Earth sect were to become Lin Yi's subordinate sect, that would be giving Lin Yi a helping hand. This relationship was different from the icing on the cake in the future. Whoever followed Lin Yi first and got Lin Yi's approval would have the advantage, and when Lin Yi grew up, the Yellow Earth sect would rise as well. Yes, uncle, I'll send it to you in a bit. Tu Xiaowang replied. And you'll be in charge of this, and make an appointment with Mr. Lin Yi. See when he'll come to our sect. Tu Chingsong said. Little Ju suddenly went silent after learning about her parentage. After so many years, she had already treated Yang Ming's home as her own. Although Yang Ming was her godfather, he was more or less like her father. He treated her and Chi-Chi the same, without any bias. And so, little Nine found it hard to feel a sense of belonging in a foreign house. Her long-lost family was there, her brother, her father. But in little Nine's heart, Lin Yi, Yang Chi-Chi, and Chi-Chi's parents were the people closest to her. She had lived here since she was young. As for the Yellow Earth sect in the western region, this was the first time she had heard of it. She was still a little conflicted about the unknown. Lil Nine, what's wrong? Chi-Chi couldn't help but ask after hearing the silence. Big Sister 7, I don't think this is real. I have a family? Little Nine's voice was somewhat low. There was not the slightest bit of excitement from finding his family. There was only sadness from not knowing how to face it. Lil Nine, are you not happy? In the Yellow Earth sect, not only is your body's problem solved, but you can also see your family. Chi-Chi didn't understand Little Nine's feelings right now. She didn't know why she was so down. Big Sister 7, it's impossible for me to say that I haven't thought about my family. When I was young, I did think about what my birth parents and family were like, but as time went on, I've long since treated you, bro, godfather, and godmother as the closest people to me. Little Nine said quietly. Suddenly, I have a family. I feel like I don't know what to do. Big Sister 7, let me calm down for a bit, okay? I'll think about it. I'll contact you. Okay. Chi-Chi nodded. Lil Nine, calm down for a bit. After hanging up, Chi-Chi didn't go straight to Lin Yi. Instead, she called Mrs. Zhou. Mrs. Zhou was the other wife of Chi-Chi's father and an expert hacker. She was Little Nine's teacher. She was probably the best person to talk to Little Nine. But, no matter what Little Nine decided, the Sky Elixir sex test was finally over. The prize ceremony was set for tomorrow morning at the Sky Elixir Inn Square. It was called a prize ceremony, but it was just a symbolic certificate and a record of each participant's requirements. If the pills were in stock, naturally, they could just take it. But if they weren't, they'd have to make a reservation. In fact, it could even be described as pitifully few. Altogether, more than 40 practitioners of Earth rank and above had participated in this trial. calculating according to the spirit beast's daily killing rate of 2 Earth rank and above experts, excluding the few days when the Dragon of 5 Demons had issued the task and the 5 days after the 15th day. The spirit beast had lost about 30 Earth rank and above experts in the 10 days in between. However, the number of cultivators who passed the trial this time was the highest among all the previous batches. Therefore, even though so many people had died, no one would suspect anything. Feng Shipin's reward was a great recovery pill, and so did Gu Xian, Qikuan, and Li Siba. They all got one. Feng Shipan exchanged for the Great Recover Pellet for Feng Nitian, and Gu Xian was a lone practitioner. With the Great Recover Pellet, he could defend himself. Li Siba was a physical practitioner. Other pellets wouldn't be of much use. Only the Great Recover Pellet could heal. As for Qikuan, he didn't even know why he got a Great Recovery Pill. Elder Bai was dead, and the Great Recovery Pill didn't have much use for House Xiao right now. But the Sky Elixir sect didn't have many finished pills, and he only had one with him. According to the rules, he wasn't allowed to ask for future pills. Of course, this depended on the Sky Elixir sect's mood. If they agreed, then it was fine, but Qikuan didn't want any trouble. After all, what Zhang Naipeo wanted was a bone-cleansing pill. The Sky Elixir sect didn't have any on hand, but for the sake of the everyday and everyday sect, Silkworm sect agreed to let Zhao Ming make one for Naipeo. When it was Lin Yi's turn, Lin Yi said to Kong Ming directly, "Great recovery pill." Chapter 2906. What the Heavenly Silkworm Transformation Master was thinking was, what did Lin Yi want the recover pill for? At the bottom of the cliff, Lin Yi didn't take away the 2 recover pills she had. What did he want it for? Moreover, Lin Yi had that kind of magical healing ability. What did he want the recover pill for? Could it be because Lin Yi cured 2 Overlord and was afraid of being suspected, so he covered it up? At present, this was the only guess she had. The news of 2 Overlords' recovery had already spread throughout the Heavenly Elixir sect and even the 5 Elements sect. Although Ancestor Xianxin was very puzzled as to how 2 Overlord had recovered, and seeing that he was very close to Lin Yi, he also suspected that Lin Yi had played some role in it. However, Ancestor Xianxin never thought that Lin Yi could use true qi to heal others. After all, using true qi to heal others only existed between people of the same sect and the same mental cultivation method. Moreover, the healer had to spend a lot of physical strength and true qi to heal others. Unless they had a very good relationship, who would make such a sacrifice? Moreover, Lin Yi and 2 Overlord weren't from the same sect, nor did they cultivate the same mental cultivation method. They didn't even know each other at all, and their relationship wasn't good either. Why would Lin Yi heal him? Moreover, it seemed that Lin Yi was very good now. It didn't seem like he had used a lot of physical strength and true qi at all. Therefore, even if Ancestor Xianxin was suspicious, he couldn't think of any clues. It was even more impossible for Lin Yi to give 2 Overlord a 4th grade recover pill. This matter could only be inquired about slowly and see if he could find out from 2 Overlord. There was no other way, because if he asked Lin Yi would definitely not tell the truth. However, Lin Yi didn't have such thoughts about Tian Chan at all. Lin Yi didn't ask to refine the Ice Heart Jade Heart pill because there was a grudge between him and Kong Ming. Even if he brought the materials, the Heavenly Elixir School might not refine it for him. At that time, he could just tell him that he didn't refine it and that he had failed, and there was nothing he could do. Therefore, Lin Yi might as well take a Da Huan pill that the Heavenly Elixir sect had in stock. Although it seemed that the Da Huan pill was temporarily useless to him, it was not. To Lin Yi, this was also a good thing. When Lin Yi used the True Qi Bomb, the whole body of the physical strength of the True Qi was shot out and accidentally injured his meridians. In this case, Lin Yi was unable to repair the meridians in his body, but as long as there was a Great Restore Dan, which could repair a few meridians, then he could repair the other meridians. In this situation, without Skybolt Pig and General Weiwu, it was very useful. Lin Yi, don't you want to reconsider? You didn't want this Da Huan pill before. Didn't you tell me that you wanted the Ice Heart Jade Heart pill? Kong Ming frowned and asked unwillingly. Oh, didn't I need 2 spiritual herbs to refine a pill for you? Lin Yi said indifferently. I only have one spiritual herb. I just need a ready-made pill. This. Actually, seeing that we are old friends, I can make an exception. Moreover, this is what the heavenly elixir sect promised you before. Kong Ming Ming quickly said, forget it, I'll give you the ingredients, and if you ruin it for me, I won't have anyone to talk to about it. Lin Yi shook his head. I don't believe you. The smile on Kong Ming Ming's face froze, and he laughed awkwardly. How is that possible? I'm not the only one in charge of the heavenly elixir sect. I just think that it's a pity that you don't have this chance. If you think it's a pity, then give me another ice heart pill. Lin Yi said. Forget it then. Kong Ming Ming pouted and turned to ask the other participants. The Dahuan pills were all available, and so after Lin Yi and the others got the pills, they started their journey back. Lin Yi didn't give a clear answer to Tua Junwang, and Tua Junwang wasn't in a rush. He planned to walk around in the Central Plains. Now that everyone knew that Tua Junwang was Lin Yi's follower, no one dared to mess with him. Zhang Naipeo had suffered a setback in the test, and he had been feeling a little down lately. He didn't have the mood to mess with Tua Junwang anymore, and he was very wary of Lin Yi. Lil Qi, I'm going back. Are you going back to the private island? Lin Yi asked. The private island, also known as X Island, it was where Lin Yi trained when he was young, and now the base of the world's biggest assassin organization. Of course, this biggest was limited to the common world. The Yellow Spring sect of the practitioner world couldn't compare. Yeah, I'll go back and discuss it with Lil Jio, and then I'll contact you. Lin Yi bro, Chi nodded. Lil Jio's problem settled, so don't go running around. There's too much danger in the practitioner world. It's not for you. Lin Yi didn't want Chi to risk her life in the practitioner world. Lin Yi could help her now, but he couldn't guarantee that he'd help her every time. Okay, Chi nodded. I'll call you if I come back to the training world. Good. Lin Yi nodded and said goodbye to Chi before walking to Feng Shipian, Gu Xian, and Li Siba who were waiting for him. Boss, we're going back, Feng Shipian said, a little saddened. They'd only known each other for a short time, but their friendship had been established. He didn't know if his father and grandfather would blame him if they found out about this, but he didn't know if they'd go back to the ancient house Feng. After all, a disciple of an ancient sect taking a freelancer as his boss, this was quite shocking. Lin Yi was strong, but there was no guarantee that his family wouldn't object to it. After all, Lin Yi was Nitian's enemy. Although the news hadn't spread yet, Nitian would definitely wake up after taking the recover pill. At that time, it would be clear who hurt him, so Feng Shipian had a headache. Li Siba was more relaxed. Although he was a core disciple of the Holy Fist Palace, Lin Yi was the one who avenged his fellow disciples. He couldn't avenge his fellow disciples, so he recognized Lin Yi as his boss. Lin Yi taught Zhang Naipeo a lesson, and the Holy Fist Palace certainly couldn't say anything. If someone dared to stand up and blame Li Siba, it meant that he didn't want to avenge his fellow disciples. Who would be such a villain? And Gu Xian, a freelancer, didn't care about what others thought. She just said goodbye to Lin Yi. Boss, I'll go to Donghai City to find you later. Chapter 2907. On the way back, it was still Lin Yi and Chikuan together. Chikuan himself didn't think that he'd actually pass the test. He knew that the hidden house Zhao was here to send him to his death, he knew that. And while he had Lin Yi's protection, Zhao Chikuan was still a little worried before he came. After all, no matter how strong Lin Yi was, he couldn't protect everyone. He didn't expect that they would pass the test and get the pill, but the hidden house Zhao was gone. Chikuan didn't know how to face the hidden house Zhao now. His family stood against him after he left. Although his grandpa and Zhao Qibing wouldn't dare do anything to him after he went back, living in a house like this was a tragedy and torture. Lin Yi looked at Chikuan's unhappy face and patted his shoulder, sighing. Let's go. There are some things you can't choose. Can you choose your grandpa? That's true. Chikuan smiled bitterly. What should I do when I go back? I really don't know what the point of me staying in House Zhao is. My grandpa, why is he so stubborn? Is it just because Zhao Qibing gave him a qi gathering pill that he let him become the head of the house? Some things are formed under the circumstances of a strange combination of factors. Now, I can't explain it. Under the circumstances at that time, old Zhao's decision was understandable. But now, I have to say that he was very short-sighted. Yeah, Chikuin nodded. Even the ancient sects have a few of them calling you their boss. My grandpa really is. One step at a time. We'll see. With Lin Yi's current position, the way he thought about things was different. In the past, he didn't dare touch the hidden House Zhao and House Yu because he wasn't strong enough. So, he kept their relationship at a balance point, and no one would take a step further. But now, Lin Yi could totally wipe out any hidden house. Chikuin nodded and got in the jeep with Lin Yi, heading home. Tian Shan stood far away, quietly watching as Lin Yi got on the car and drove off. She sighed, "Endless sorrow after parting with you. We'll always be together, and there will be many obstacles in the future." Naturally, Lin Yi didn't know that behind him stood a girl who missed him. Tian Shan didn't attend the awards ceremony, and Lin Yi thought that Tian Shan had already returned to Five Elements sect and wouldn't show her face again. These days, Tianli had been selling everything he had, borrowing from all over the place, but he still couldn't get 200 million. He only managed to get 40 million and transferred it all to Lang's CEO's account. Just when he was anxiously waiting for the news, Lang's CEO brought him a bolt out of the blue. "Boss Liu, it's bad. Because we didn't meet the deadline and gathered enough money to pay the smuggler. The smuggler found the border guards of that small country and reported the news of our smuggling. As a result, the border guards seized all our goods," Xiao Chun said sadly. "What?" Tianli couldn't help but be shocked, as if he had fallen into an ice house. Although he was hypnotized, it was only because of his unlimited trust in Little Pure and the belief that this business would bring him a lot of money. Now that his business was in trouble, Tianli was still shocked. He almost had a heart attack. That snakehead, why didn't he follow the rules? It's not like we're not giving him the money, we're just delaying it for a while. Why did he? I didn't have a choice, they're all desperados. I want to talk to them, but they won't meet me. Xiao Chun sighed, troubled. Why don't I try to find a way through the political connections here and see if I can pass the message? Lu Tianli hesitated. He really didn't want to use House Lu's political connections for this, but the situation was urgent, and he had no other choice. If he didn't use them, then House Lu would be done for. Smuggling was a disgrace to House Lu, but they hadn't done it yet, right? House Lu just had to be flexible and say that the goods were going to be imported legally, but they were confiscated when they were being transported to the small country. That way, things would work. CEO Lu, are you sure you can use your connections? The goods we're smuggling this time are prohibited goods. Xiao Chun reminded, isn't it just tobacco? We're smuggling, but I can be flexible and say that we're going to import legally. Tianli was shocked, but he wasn't stupid. He quickly thought of a solution. CEO Lu, this isn't just tobacco, it's drugs. Xiao Chun said, what? Drugs? Tianli was shocked. He couldn't believe it. He almost threw the phone in his hand on the floor. How did cigarettes become drugs? He took a deep breath and came back to his senses. Isn't it cigarettes? How did it become drugs? CEO Lang Yu, you're not joking, are you? Haha, this joke isn't funny at all. CEO Lu, do you think I'm joking with you? Xiao Chun said faintly. There's nothing special in those cigarettes. How can they be so good to smoke? That's... Tianli froze, only remembering after Boss Lang reminded him. That's right. Why were these cigarettes so good to smoke, and addictive to the point of it? Could there really be drugs in them? But why didn't he think of it before? Of course, what Tianli didn't know was that it wasn't that he didn't think of it, but that he was hypnotized and didn't think in that direction at all. The hypnotist suppressed his thoughts. CEO Lang, you tricked me? Tianli roared. Director Lu, I thought you knew what was going on, Xiao Chun said calmly. CEO Lu, I thought you knew it yourself. Xiao Chun said slowly. I don't do drugs, how would I know? Tianli raged. I don't take drugs, how would I know? Tianli raged. All the bosses I know smoke cigarettes, how would I know you don't? Xiao Chun said, I saw that you didn't raise any doubts before, so I thought we had a tacit understanding. The purity of this cigarette is so high that people who have never smoked before will feel uncomfortable. I saw that Mr. Lu was enjoying it, so I didn't think too much about it. Chapter 2908. What do I do? I don't have a solution right now. Compared to money, my life is more important. That smuggler said that if I keep causing trouble, he'll kill me. I think, Mr. Liu, I don't want the goods anymore. I don't want the money anymore. If you have the ability, then get the goods out yourself. I'll give it all to you. I don't want to do this anymore. Xiao Chun's voice sounded really down. What? Tianli panicked. Mr. Lang, that's not right. If you leave now, what will I do? You have to know that I'm the one who invested the most money in this. That's why I'm saying, Mr. Liu, if you have the ability, then get the goods out and give it all to you. Xiao Chun said, but how am I supposed to get the drugs? I can't use my connections at all. Not to mention using my connections. Even if this gets out, it'll be a fatal blow to House Liu. Tianli said worriedly. House Liu was in the medicine business, and if they got involved with drug trafficking, they'd be done for. That's not within my consideration, Mr. Liu. I'm sorry, but I don't think there's any point in working with us anymore. We'll never meet again. With that, Xiao Chun hung up and said goodbye to Tianli. Mr. Lang, you can't do this. Hello? Hello? Fuck you. Tianli couldn't help but curse when he heard Xiao Chun hang up on him. He smashed his phone onto the floor, breaking it into pieces. Tianli breathed heavily, his right hand clutching his chest. His face was twisted, and because of his anger, his eyes were bloodshot. It was a terrifying sight. Mr. Liu, what's wrong? Secretary Zhang heard the sound of the phone smashing on the floor and quickly walked into Tianli's office. What was that sound? Mr. Liu, your phone. Full? Tianli took a deep breath. He knew that there was no point in getting angry now. He had to think of a solution. The most important thing right now was to contact Mr. Lang. After all, he didn't even know who the smuggler was. How was he supposed to find a connection? He could only count on Mr. Lang now. Tianli wondered if he could get Mr. Lang to think of a solution. Up until now, he had not doubted Lang Zong. It had to be said that the hypnotist's ability was very powerful. Director Liu, don't be angry. What exactly happened? Secretary Zhang felt a little strange and could only ask carefully. Give me your phone and replace my SIM card on the floor. Tianli didn't explain much as he ordered Secretary Zhang. Okay, Mr. Liu. Secretary Zhang nodded and picked up the phone parts on the ground. He found Tianli's SIM card and put it into his phone before passing it to Tianli. All right, you can leave now. Tianli waved his hand, signaling the secretary to leave. There were some things he didn't want Secretary Zhang to know too much. If the news of him dealing drugs and the company losing money were to be leaked, it would be a huge scandal. The company might even be on the verge of bankruptcy. Tianli didn't dare spread the news. Yes, Secretary Zhang didn't know what was going on, but he didn't dare to ask. He could only leave the office respectfully. After Secretary Zhang left, Tianli dialed CEO Lang's number again, but there was a cold voice on the other side. I'm sorry, the number you have dialed is either switched off or not within the service area. Please check and dial again later. Tianli was stunned. Lang, you're too much. Tianli was furious when he heard that Mr. Lang's phone was switched off. He wanted to smash his phone again, but he held himself back and dialed Mr. Lang's assistant, Cui Mianshir's number. But what drove Tianli crazy was that Cui Mianshir's phone rang with the same tone. His phone was turned off. Yes, Secretary Zhang. This time, Tianli truly believed it. Mr. Lang really wanted to leave. It wasn't fake. It was real. Mr. Liu. Secretary Zhang heard Tianli's call and quickly came back. He didn't know what he did to piss off Tianli. Was that a curse? Check 2 numbers for me immediately. See if you can locate the location of the most recent calls from these 2 numbers. With that, Tianli wrote down the 2 numbers on a piece of paper and passed it to Secretary Zhang. He didn't say who these 2 numbers belonged to or what the use was. It's best if you can find out the registered information of these 2 numbers as well, Tianli said. Secretary Zhang nodded. Yes. Secretary Zhang got the numbers and went to work. With Tianli's position in the company, it was a piece of cake for him to investigate these things. Secretary Zhang had a lot of acquaintances. Soon, Secretary Zhang reported the results of the investigation to Tianli. What shocked him was that these 2 numbers never left Yanjing at all. They didn't go to that small country at all, and other than calling him, they didn't talk to anyone else at all. This was basically impossible. Mr. Lang wasn't doing business with him alone. Besides, how could they have been in Yinjing all this time? This didn't make sense at all. At this time, even if Tianli trusted Mr. Lang blindly, he realized the problem. He seemed to have fallen into an elaborate trap. Mr. Lang had been lying to him from the start. What the hell is this? This name can be registered on a phone card? Tianli pointed at the list of phone numbers Secretary Zhang brought over. These people are called Wolf Motherf * Kerr and Chue Motherf * Kerr? Who would have names like that? Secretary Zhang was a bit speechless at these two names, but he didn't know why Tianli would be so fixated on these two names. He could only say weakly, there are all sorts of strange things in this world. What they call themselves is their freedom. Full? Tianli's breathing became messy after realizing that he had been tricked. Since these two were lying to him, it was normal for them to call themselves Wolf Motherf * Kerr. It was already good enough that they didn't call themselves Motherf * Kerr. The most important thing now wasn't to think about these two's names. He needed to find their whereabouts. Secretary Zhang, get me the information on Mr. Lang right now. I want to see it. Chapter 2909. Tianli, on the other hand, picked up a cigarette, lit it up, and put it in his mouth, frowning. But after taking a puff, he suddenly realized that the cigarette he was smoking was the drug that Mr. Lang gave him. Tianli was scared as if he had been stung by a scorpion. He quickly threw the cigarette on the ground and put it out with his foot. I'm dead. I'm dead. Tianli waved his hand as he continued thinking about the whole thing. Why did he suddenly do something stupid? Why did he believe Mr. Lang's words? Why did he smoke his cigarette? Not only did he smoke it, but he didn't notice anything wrong with it. Tianli couldn't think of a reason no matter how much he thought about it. In the end, Tianli felt that he wanted House Lu to leave Lin Yi too much, and he wanted to find a way out for House Lu himself. That was indeed the case. If Tianli didn't have his own selfish desires, he would never work with Xiaochun on this cigarette business. It was his greed that allowed the hypnotist to take advantage of him. Businessmen were after profits, and it was understandable that Pengzhan got tricked. After all, Pengzhan Industries was a multifaceted group, and Pengzhan Industries was his own boss. Chu Pengzhan's greed was being exploited by the hypnotist. But Tianli couldn't get away with being tricked. House Lu's current business was fully supporting Lin Yi's Miracle Dr. Guan Medicine Company. This was also the foundation that Elder Zhenhu and Lu Jinghan had set for House Lu's future. But Tianli always felt that if they relied on Lin Yi, wouldn't House Lu be done for if Lin Yi died one day? And so, because of his selfishness, Tianli was successfully hypnotized by the hypnotist. Otherwise, if a person had no selfish motives, no matter how powerful the hypnotist was, he wouldn't fall for it if he had a strong will. Tianli held his head, troubled, but he didn't know what to do. Now that something like this happened to the company, how was he going to tell his family? The most important thing was, how was he going to face Lin Yi? Lin Yi, would he kill him? Not only did he lose House Lu's company, but he also lost the distributor's money and the money he used to buy raw materials for Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Without this money, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company would fall into a cash flow crisis. Tianli knew the severity of the situation, but the more serious it was, the more he didn't dare to confess. Tianli picked up a cigarette and put it in his mouth. He was about to light it up when he suddenly remembered that it was drugs. But even knowing that it was drugs, Tianli still couldn't pull himself away. His hands were shaking, and he wanted to throw the cigarette away, but he didn't know if it was because of the addiction or because he couldn't resist the temptation of the cigarette, but he still lit it up with trembling hands. Now I have to think of a way. It's fine if I smoke. It won't be too late to quit smoking after I think of a way. Tianli thought to himself, however. He couldn't think of any way at all. When the cigarette entered his mouth, it brought him an indescribable sense of comfort and relief. It made him temporarily forget about his troubles in this matter. Tianli felt like he was on cloud 9. At this moment, he felt that nothing else mattered except for the cigarette. Secretary Zhang took a long time this time. After all, Investigating a company and investigating two phone numbers were two different things. But Secretary Zhang was still quite capable. After going through a few business associations, he still managed to find Mr. Lang's company. However, the company's information made Secretary Zhang frown. Of course, this wasn't something that Secretary Zhang could worry about. He went straight to Tianli's office after getting the information. Seeing the cigarette butts all over the floor, Secretary Zhang paused for a moment, but still said respectfully, "Mr. Liu, I've got the information. Please take a look. Put it over there." Tianli was smoking comfortably. He didn't care about anything else right now, and he wasn't in a rush to look at the information. Okay. Secretary Zhang didn't dare to say anything else. He put the information down and left. After a long time, Tianli finally woke up from his addiction. He remembered about the information and quickly picked it up. But when he flipped to the first page, he froze. President Lang's company was registered in Bermuda. There was no extra relevant information. What could be found were the advertisements and encyclopedia introductions about this company on the search engine. However, these things could not be used as any basis at all. These things could be changed by anyone. Tianli threw the information aside and sighed bitterly. Indeed, since the other party had decided to lie to him, they wouldn't let him find any evidence against them. There was no way they would leave any real information for him to investigate. Sigh. Tianli lowered his head helplessly, his hands grabbing at his hair. He didn't know how to face this. He could only pick up another cigarette and start smoking. Two disciples of the Dark Palace picked up 2 herbs from the corpses and successfully exchanged them for a chi-gathering pill at the awards ceremony. Although the time needed to make it wasn't certain, this was the only way for the Palace Master of the Dark Palace to break through to Sky Class. If the Palace Master still couldn't accept the inheritance at Sky Class, then they would have to find another inheritor. The pressure on the Dark Palace would be huge. The return of the 2 disciples was praised by the highest elder. "You two did a good job. You were able to pass such a dangerous heavenly elixir sect trial. We will do our best for the Grand Elder. No matter how dangerous it is, we will try our best," the 2 disciples said flatteringly. But we only got 2 herbs. That's a bit regretful. Why didn't you guys get more?" The Grand Elder asked. We had a lot of elixirs to begin with, but who knew that this Lin Yi guy would come in and take all of it? The 2 disciples from the Dark Palace had been holding a grudge against Lin Yi since the beginning. If it weren't for Lin Yi, they would have gotten a lot of elixirs with Naipeo, much more than just these 2. But they never thought about what happened when they helped Naipeo scam Lin Yi's friends. Chapter 29:10. They told the Grand Elder about how despicable Lin Yi was, how hateful he was for stealing their elixirs, adding oil and vinegar to the story. On one hand, they wanted to push the blame away, and on the other hand, they wanted the Grand Elder to take revenge on Lin Yi, who made them lose face. Naipeo was the one who started it, but he was from the everyday sect, and they couldn't afford to piss him off. Naipeo took them in as followers and even gave them benefits, so they didn't hold a grudge. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was a freelancer, and he was the disciple of an ancient sect. How could they accept that? What? Lin Yi? The Grand Elder paused. Why did the name sound so familiar? Then, she suddenly thought of who this person was. Is it the wild man beside that little bitch? He's participating in the Sky Elixir test? Isn't he an Earth class? You two aren't his match? The 2 disciples paused. Why did it sound like the Grand Elder knew Lin Yi? And so, Disciple A asked carefully, "Grand Elder, do you know that Lin Yi?" "You don't have to worry about this, I know." The Grand Elder waved her hand, signaling the 2 to leave. She, on the other hand, frowned. Everyone could see the anger in her heart. Meng Yao's people were bullying the Dark Palace. Wasn't this a blatant provocation? "Men." The Grand Elder took a deep breath and yelled, "Grand Elder, what's the matter?" The one on duty today was elderly, and he was outside the door. He heard the 2 disciples' conversation loud and clear, and he was quite happy. The Miss Bodyguard was this strong? How could an Earth Stage cultivator get a place in the Heavenly Elixir sex trial? "Why are you here?" The Grand Elder frowned upon seeing Elder Li. She knew that Elderly was on Wan Er's side, and that he was very respectful and concerned about Meng Yao. "I'm on duty today, Grand Elder," Elderly said. "Neither servile nor overbearing. Forget it. You are what you are." The Grand Elder thought that Elderly was only helping Meng Yao in the dark. Would he dare to go against his will on the surface? It was a good opportunity to disgust him. "May I ask why Supreme Elder is looking for me?" When Elderly saw the Grand Elder's expression, he knew it wasn't something good. He reckoned that the Grand Elder had come up with some vicious plan to punish Lin Yi. "Now, send a notice to Lin Yi in the name of the Dark Palace. Tell him to return the 2 elixirs he stole from our disciples. If not, he'll bear the consequences," the Great Elder said. Elderly was stunned. He didn't expect that the Grand Supreme Elder would ask him to do this. How was he going to send out the notice? Elderly's expression was a little awkward. "Grand Elder, this isn't too good, right? The Heavenly Elixir sect will be in charge of everything in the trial. We, the Palace of Darkness, can't do anything about it. If the Heavenly Elixir sect finds out, it'll be a huge taboo." If she succeeded, then everything would be fine. But if she failed, then it would be an eternal failure. The Grand Elder had no choice but to activate the Dark Phoenix Bloodline Guidance Stone to find another inheritor of the Dark Phoenix Bloodline to accept the inheritance. Chapter 29:11. I understand. Elderly, please do as the Grand Elder says. Warner sighed. This wasn't something she could decide. Her decision to run away from the wedding all those years ago seemed childish and funny, but she didn't regret it. It was her choice. Pengzhan was the love of her life. It was just that he and her daughter had suffered a lot. After all these years, he had become a very successful person in the common world, but in the ancient world, he was nothing in the eyes of the Grand Elder. "Yes, Palace Master," Elderly sighed and said, "if we do this, the people around Little Miss will definitely be baffled." Sigh. Wan pursed her lips and didn't say anything else. She couldn't change the reality in front of her. Luckily, she only wanted Lin Yi to hand over the medicine and elixirs. She didn't cause any more trouble for him, so she was a little relieved. Ancient House Feng. Feng Tianhu didn't expect Feng Shipian to come back alive, but he was happy that Feng Shipian brought back the Great Huan Pill. Nitian could be saved. So, even if Feng Shipian wasn't dead, Feng Tianhu was still smiling. "Shipian, you've worked hard. You're indeed the first heir of the ancient House Feng, passing such a difficult test. Not bad, not bad." Feng Shipian didn't look like a schemer, but he was actually very smart. There were some things that he didn't want to think too much about, and he didn't want to fight. Looking at his uncle's smile, Feng Shipian smiled and nodded. "It's all thanks to the help of a benefactor. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to pass the test." "Benefactor?" Feng Tianlin came out at this time. He paused after hearing Feng Shipian's words. "What benefactor?" "Father, I recognized a boss in the test. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have passed the test so smoothly." Feng Shipian decided to tell his father about this. It was a blessing, not a curse, and if it was a curse, it couldn't be avoided. He had to say it sooner or later. "What?" Feng Tianlin heard Feng Shipian's words and frowned. Feng Shipian was his son, the future heir of the ancient House Feng. How could he call someone else boss? Wouldn't the ancient House Feng become someone else's lackey? "Feng Shipian, what is the meaning of this? You are a member of the ancient Feng clan. How can you just casually acknowledge someone as your boss? Don't you know that by doing this, you're giving up the right to be the heir?" Feng Tianhu didn't wait for Feng Tianlin to say anything else. He knew that Feng Shipian had brought back the Great Recover Pill, and that meant that Feng Nitian could be saved. He also had the intention to push Feng Nitian up again. Even if he couldn't, he still had a trump card. The most important thing now was to remove Feng Shipian's position as the heir. Therefore, as soon as he opened his mouth, he determined Feng Shipian's behavior. It seemed like he was blaming Feng Shipian for failing to live up to his expectations, but in reality, He was saying that Feng Shipian's behavior was no longer suitable for him to become the successor of the young patriarch. How could the successor of the young patriarch acknowledge someone else as his boss? If Feng Shipian became the young patriarch, wouldn't the ancient Feng family become someone else's lackey? Therefore, his words basically cut off Feng Shipian's path of retreat. Elder Feng was a shrewd man. How could he not know what Feng Tianhu meant? However, Feng Tianhu was right. If Feng Shipian acknowledged someone else as his boss, then he naturally wouldn't have the right to be the young patriarch anymore. Oh poem, what you've done is indeed inappropriate. Elder Feng narrowed his eyes and said faintly, "You are the successor of the young patriarch. Your every word and action represents the ancient Feng clan." Grandpa, the situation at that time didn't allow me to do otherwise. If I didn't acknowledge that person as my boss, then I wouldn't even be able to come back safely, let alone get the great recover pill. Feng Shipian sighed. He knew that this would happen when he returned home, but he had no choice. Our ancient Feng family's reputation is the most important, Feng Tianhu said, disappointed that he had failed to meet his expectations. Shipian, the boss you acknowledged, which sect is he from? Feng Tianlin tried his best to change the topic. He wanted to know the identity of Feng Shipian's boss. If this boss was a direct disciple of a big sect, or even the young patriarch, then it would make sense. The ancient Feng clan wasn't a top-notch existence in the ancient world, but a low-level existence. If they really acknowledged such a boss, it would still be beneficial for the ancient Feng clan. Feng Tianhu frowned. Of course, he knew what Feng Tianlin meant, but he couldn't stop Feng Shipian from saying it. He is called Lin Yi. He's a wandering cultivator. Although Feng Shipian knew that if he said Lin Yi's identity, it would only make Feng Tianhu use it as an excuse to attack him, he didn't want to lie. Lin Yi's identity as a wandering cultivator was something that could be investigated. There was no way to hide it. What? Wandering cultivator? Before Feng Tianhu could speak, Feng Tianlin exclaimed in shock, "Shipian, what are you thinking? How can you acknowledge a wandering cultivator as your boss? Do you know how much of a negative impact this will have on the ancient Feng clan?" "All right, second brother, let's not talk about Shipian anymore. He's young, and it's his first time going out to train. He doesn't know any better. Let's not talk about him." Feng Tianhu waved his hand and pretended to be a good person. What's done can't be undone. The only way is to announce to the public that Feng Shipian is not the first in line to be the young patriarch. That way, there won't be any problems. Feng Tianlin's face was very ugly. He was very annoyed by Feng Shipian's reckless behavior. But after all, Feng Shipian was his son, and his personality was somewhat similar to Feng Shipian's. They were both kind people. At this time, he didn't know what to say. He could only say with hatred, "Shipian, look at what you've done." "Father, I don't think I've done anything wrong. If this matter affects the ancient Feng clan's reputation, I'm willing to take all the responsibility," Feng Shipian said stubbornly. At that time, "I wanted to pass the trial and get the spiritual medicine to exchange for the recover pill for my brother. I had to do this. Moreover, it wasn't just me. Li Siba, a disciple of the Holy Fist Palace, also acknowledged Lin Yi as his boss." Then, Feng Tianhu just wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Old Master Feng. Chapter 29:12. Yes, there is also Gu Xian, a rogue cultivator from the ancient times, who also recognized Lin Yi as his boss. We also successfully completed the trial of the Heavenly Elixir sect because of the protection of boss Lin Yi. Feng Shipian nodded and said, "Tut." Old Master Feng smacked his lips in surprise and fell into deep thought. The disciples of the Holy Fist Palace also recognized Lin Yi as their boss? Old Master Feng was very clear about what kind of sect the Holy Fist Palace was. The Holy Fist Palace was a model of external cultivation among the ancient sections. It was very powerful. Although it had been a little low-key in recent years, no one could deny the transcendent status of the Holy Fist Palace. Although the disciples of the Holy Fist Palace who participated in the trial of the Heavenly Elixir sect this time might not be the direct disciples, they must be the core disciples. The core disciples of the Holy Fist Palace were certainly not fools. This Lin Yi must be extraordinary. Moreover, Old Master Feng had also heard of the name of Gu Xian. Gu Xian was also a character in the ancient times. He was well informed, but he did not join any ancient sections. Such a character could recognize others as his boss. There must be something wrong with this. Feng Shipian, no matter what, this time you have done something that will damage the reputation of the family. During this period of time, you will go to the reflection room and reflect on your mistakes. Don't participate in the other affairs of the family. Old Master Feng finally spoke, and he made the final decision. You participated in the trial this time and got the recover pill. Your merits and demerits offset each other. I will not punish you for anything else. Yes, thank you, Grandpa. Feng Shipian did not expect things to be resolved so easily. In fact, reflecting on his mistakes was similar to cultivation. Otherwise, Feng Shipian often cultivated in seclusion. This punishment was basically equivalent to no punishment for cultivators. Originally, Feng Shipian thought that he would definitely be removed from the title of the first successor of the young master. But now it seemed that Grandpa did not think so. Feng Tianhu's face changed. He did not expect that Old Master Feng would settle the matter with just one sentence, but he had no choice and did not dare to say anything more. Tianhu, take the recover pill and give it to Heaven Defying. He is also the disciple with the most potential in our ancient Feng family. It would be great if he could recover. Old Master Feng didn't show any favoritism. He directly hinted to Feng Tianhu that if his son recovered, he would also have a chance to compete. Yes, thank you, Father. Tianhu was overjoyed. He didn't think that this pill would really fall into Niqian's hands. One had to know that he had hoped for it before, but he wasn't sure if he would give it to Nitian. After all, to the ancient house Feng Nitian was just a vegetable, useless. According to some of the cold-blooded noble houses, people like him would be abandoned. Even if they got the great recover pill back, they would keep it in their house for emergencies. They wouldn't give it to anyone easily. The hidden Zhao family was a living example. Old Master Zhao's actions were very cold-blooded and heartless. You can all leave now, do your own things. Old Master Feng finished and turned to leave. The current atmosphere of the ancient house Feng was not good, but Old Master Feng had no choice. Feng Shipian was too weak. If the ancient house Feng was strong, then there would be no problem. No one would be able to do anything to the ancient house Feng, but now the ancient house Feng was just a weak family. If Feng Shipian didn't have any means, then the ancient house Feng would be bullied to death in the future. However, Old Master Feng couldn't think of a good solution. Feng Tianlin and Feng Shipian had similar personalities, and Feng Tianhu and Feng Nitian had similar personalities, but these two personalities were extreme, and neither was suitable to be the head of the house. However, for now, they could only take one step at a time. Old Master Feng could only hope that one of them could change. Holy Fist Palace. Li Siba's return could be said to be an accident for the Holy Fist Palace. On the way, Li Siba and a fellow disciple met Zhang Naipeo. After being killed by Zhang Naipeo, Li Siba went to the Heavenly Elixir sect to participate in the trial. At that time, the disciple who was responsible for collecting the body of the Holy Fist Palace persuaded Li Siba to quit, but Li Siba still went to the Heavenly Elixir sect firmly. Some people thought that he was stubborn, but others thought that he was being impulsive. He and Zhang Naipeo had already become enemies. When he went to the Heavenly Elixir sect for the trial, it was hard to guarantee that Zhang Naipeo would not be resentful and attack Li Siba again, leaving him in the trial. Therefore, when Li Siba returned, the people of the sect were very surprised, especially his master, the unparalleled Fist Master. The Holy Fist Palace and the Everyday sect had always been enemies. The unparalleled Fist Master was currently the head of the Holy Fist Palace. Although Li Siba was not his last disciple, he was also one of the disciples he was more optimistic about. Previously, he heard that the disciple of the great elder of the Holy Fist Palace was killed, but his disciple still went to the trial. He was very worried. Although Li Siba's spirit was commendable, it was a bit impulsive to go knowing that it was extremely dangerous. Siba, did you pass the trial? The unparalleled Fist Master asked in surprise. Yes, Master. I've passed the trial and successfully exchanged for a great recover pill. After saying that, Lee Siba carefully took out the recover pill from his pocket and presented it to the unparalleled fist master. The unparalleled fist master was really shocked this time. He was very surprised that Lee Siba could come back alive, but he actually brought back a third-grade recover pill. It was a bit unbelievable. During the trial, did Zhang Naipeo make things difficult for you? The unparalleled fist master hated Zhang Naipeo's guts, not only because he killed a core disciple of the Holy Fist Palace, but also because he was a disciple of the Everyday and Everyday sect. The Holy Fist Palace hated the disciples of the Everyday and Everyday sect the most. Yes, but your disciple found a boss in the test, and under his protection, not only did I break Naipeo's spirit and avenge my fellow disciples, but he also helped me pass the test and get the third-level Great Recovery Pill. Lee Siba said truthfully. Oh, you recognized a boss? And broke Zhang Naipeo's spirit? What happened? The unparalleled fist master was a little annoyed that Lee Siba recognized a boss. The disciples of the Holy Fist Palace were all outstanding existences. How could they casually recognize a boss? However, when he heard that Zhang Naipeo's spirit was broken, he became interested. Seeing the disciples of the Everyday and Everyday sect in bad luck, the unparalleled fist master was the happiest. Chapter 29:13. This was not a secret, and everyone who participated in the trial knew about it. So Lee Siba didn't need to keep it a secret. What? This Lin Yi is just a casual practitioner. How can he be so powerful? Imoba and Emojio are both dead? Zhang Naipeo wouldn't dare to do anything to him? And he actually defeated Zhang Naipeo? Peerless Fist Master's eyes widened in disbelief. He was wondering who this Lin Yi was. How could he be so powerful that even the Everyday and Everyday sect didn't dare to do anything to him? Especially since this was not the first time Lin Yi had defeated Zhang Naipeo. In the Ice Palace trial, Zhang Naipeo had already suffered a loss, and Lin Yi was still alive and well. This was the most unbelievable thing to Peerless Fist Master.
Yes.
Lee Siba nodded. In fact, I was also very curious before, but after interacting with Boss Lin Yi for a long time, I realized that the strength of a practitioner is actually not related to the level. Boss Lin Yi is an Earth-class master, but he can kill a middle-stage Heaven-class master in seconds. Lin Yi. I've never heard of him before. The unparalleled fighter tried his best to remember this name, but realized that he didn't have this name in his memories. This person had appeared out of nowhere. Of course, the Holy Fist Palace had never paid attention to Lin Yi before, so it was normal that they had never heard of Lin Yi's name. In fact, I also suspected his background. Lee Siba smiled bitterly and said, but I heard from his other follower that there are hidden families and ordinary families among Boss Lin Yi's followers. This shows that Boss Lin Yi should be walking on the road of the strong step by step. At least, there are only 3 followers at the ancient level, me, Feng Shipian, and Gu Xian. There was no one before. You have a good analysis. Peerless Fist Master nodded and said in agreement, so, this Lin Yi is even more extraordinary. He has no background. How can he walk on the road of the strong step by step? Why don't I believe it? Lee Siba hesitated for a moment and said, but it seems like that's the case. From the looks of it, some things can't be judged on the surface. What do you think, Pugilist Wu? The unparalleled fist turned his head and looked at the great elder of the sect, the unparalleled fist. He was also a peak late-stage physical expert, but he was a bit weaker than the unparalleled fist. The unparalleled fist had already reached perfection and was only a step away from the heaven rank. Sect leader, I don't think so. This Lin Yi is either a cultivation genius that only appears once in 10,000 years, or he has an extremely powerful background that none of us know about. Otherwise, this doesn't make sense at all. Lawless Fist said after some thought, an extremely powerful background that no one knows about? Can't other people find out? How could the Everyday and Everyday sect not know? The Matchless Fist Master frowned. The Everyday and Everyday sect. I don't know if they know or not, but since they're afraid of Lin Yi, they should know something. right? The unparalleled fist said after some thought. No. Logically speaking, this Lin Yi was already very strong in the Ice Palace's test. If he had a background, then Zhang Naipeo wouldn't be targeting him in the Sky Elixir sex test, trying to kill him. The unparalleled fist said with a wave of his hand. If Lin Yi really had a powerful background, would Zhang Naipeo still dare to do that? But, sect leader, even if the everyday sect doesn't know about it, it doesn't mean that Lin Yi doesn't have a powerful background. Could it be that you've forgotten about the two heavenly masters who swept through the ancient sects 10 years ago? Wasn't the invincible sect master taken away by them back then? The lawless fist shook his head again. Those two people appeared out of thin air, and then disappeared. Before that, who knew about their existence? Logically speaking, they are all the physical cultivators, and they are even beyond the extreme of our knowledge. But our Holy Fist Palace didn't know that there were two such powerful physical masters. That's true. The unparalleled Fist Master hesitated and fell into deep thought. After a while, he turned to Li Siba and said, Siba, you did a good job this time. Don't break the relationship between you and Lin Yi. Keep in touch with him, but you have to remember that you represent yourself, not our Holy Fist Palace. Before you know that person's real background, or that person hasn't shown enough strength to look down on the ancient level, you can't use the name of Holy Fist Palace to associate with him. Yes, Master, I understand. Li Siba was overjoyed. Although he had thought that the matter of him recognizing Lin Yi as his boss would not be opposed by the people in the sect, he did not expect that it would be so smooth, and that the unparalleled Fist Master would agree so much. Of course, Li Siba would not think much about the addition of the unparalleled Fist Master. After all, the Holy Fist Palace was the top existence among the ancient sections. If they recognized a rogue cultivator as their boss in the name of the sect, the impact would be too great. And the Holy Fist Palace had given Li Siba the maximum freedom to associate with Lin Yi in his own name. Ah, it's a pity that your junior brother was killed by Zhang Naipeo, but Imoba and Emoji were finished. They have been avenged. The unparalleled Fist Master sighed and said, Also, you can keep this recover pill for yourself. It's what you deserve. You don't have to hand it over to the sect. How can I do that? Li Siba was stunned and a little overwhelmed. Also, you can come to my place to practice tomorrow. From now on, you will be one of my last disciples, and you will be treated the same as the other last disciples. The unparalleled Fist Master was a man who knew how to adapt to circumstances. He also saw that Lin Yi was unusual, so he began to prepare to train Li Siba. Thank you, Master. Li Siba was surprised and happy, and quickly knelt on the ground. He never dreamed that after recognizing Lin Yi as his boss, it would bring him so many great benefits, and the unparalleled Fist Master did not oppose it. Instead, he was very supportive of the unparalleled Fist Master's decision. He smiled and said, When you have time to see Lin Yi, thank him for avenging my disciple. I can't come forward to take revenge. If it was any other time, I could only pinch my nose and accept it, but this time, I can vent my anger. Yes, Grand Elder, your disciple will convey your message. Li Siba quickly replied. Chapter 29:14. Chunyang, what happened to Pao? How come he's like this? Didn't he successfully pass the trial and obtain a marrow and bone-cleansing pill for me? Isn't that a good thing? Pinliang looked at Chunyang curiously. Do you know why? I'm not sure. I'll go ask later and report to you, Master. What do you think? Chunyang shook his head. All right. Pinliang nodded. Part of the soul in his body belonged to the Mad Dragon Master, but his care for Naipeo came from the bottom of his heart. He'd always treated Naipeo as his right-hand man. Chunyang knew this as well. He knew that Naipeo had an unusual position in the sect, and so he didn't dare tarry. He went straight to Naipeo's training area. Naipeo. Chunyang walked into Naipeo's room, and Naipeo was still sitting there, dumbfounded. He didn't even notice Chunyang's arrival. Logically speaking, Naipeo was a sky class, and his senses were quite strong. Not noticing Chunyang's arrival could only mean that his mind was elsewhere. Ah, it's Master. Naipeo came back to his senses after being called. He raised his head and looked at Chunyang. Master, why are you looking for your disciple? Naipeo, did something happen in the test this time? Pure Yang looked at Naipeo and asked. Master. Naipeo hesitated, but decided to speak the truth. Yes, Master. This test was a huge blow to your disciple. Oh, what happened? You clearly passed the trial and even obtained the trial spirit medicine to exchange for the marrow and bone washing pill for Master Wild Dragon. These are all good things. Why did you suffer such a huge blow? Heavenly Venerable Pure Yang was baffled when he heard that. He did not understand what was going on. Master, don't praise your disciple. If it weren't for Lin Yi, I'd be dead by now. You can't see your disciple right now. I'm already in the five evils barrens. Naipeo smiled bitterly. What do you mean? You're saying Lin Yi saved you? Chunyang was a little surprised. Weren't Lin Yi and Naipeo enemies? How was Lin Yi able to save Naipeo? What the hell was going on? Did the two make up? That shouldn't be. That's right. But your disciple almost died because of Lin Yi as well? You could say that Lin Yi's success and Lin Yi's failure. Naipeo nodded. What do you mean now? Lin Yi defeated you and even saved you? Pure Yang Empyrean found it increasingly inconceivable. Master, it's actually like this. Naipeo told him everything that had happened in the Five Fiends Barrens to the Pure Yang Master in detail, including the part where Lin Yi killed his right-hand man. It was only now that Chunyang realized that Imoba was killed by Lin Yi, and Emojia was beaten into a vegetative state by Lin Yi. These two weren't attacked by spirit beasts in the Five Evils Barrens. The culprit was actually Lin Yi. But Chunyang was shocked. Lin Yi was an Earth-class late phase, and he was able to kill Imoba and Emojio, two Sky-class mid-phase masters, and with an instant kill. That was fine, but Naipeo's Dark Demon Fist, and Lin Yi was able to come up with a Hellfire Fist? What the hell was this? How did it come out? Naipeo was the disciple of the Chrysanthemum Arts, Master Chiyu, and he couldn't even beat a random practitioner like Lin Yi? This didn't make sense, did it? But the truth was right there in front of him, and the soulless look on Naipeo's face didn't look like he was lying. The only explanation was that Lin Yi was too strong, and no one else was a match for him. Lin Yi, he's already this strong? Chunying frowned, not relaxing for a long time. So, if our everyday sect wants to touch him, we'll need a master of my level? Not really. If it weren't for Lin Yi's mid-tier golden cicada underwear, he wouldn't have been able to hurt me so easily. Naipeo smiled bitterly. Anyway, it's a freak accident. Chunyang patted Naipeo's shoulder and stood up. These things are the demons in your heart. Your training is stuck on this, and once you break through it, you'll be able to move forward. What do you mean? Naipeo paused. Chunyang shook his head and didn't say anything else. He turned and left his room. Naipeo fell into deep thought in his room. Chunyang, on the other hand, went straight to Pinliang's place. Master Madragon, I've understood Zhang Naipeo's journey in the test. This is what happened. Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang told Zhong Pinliang everything he knew. Oh? So, Pao suffered a blow in the test and couldn't get back up? Zhong Pinliang frowned after hearing Pure Yang's words. How did Lin Yi become so powerful? That's right, Naipeo did suffer a blow. However, this is actually a good thing. Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang said. Good thing? What do you mean? Pinliang paused, and then a look of understanding appeared on his face. The second stage of the Chrysanthemum Arts, full mastery. Before breaking through to the third stage, one has to experience the demons in their heart. Without that, one won't be able to break through. That's right. It seems like Master has thought of it too. Chunyang nodded. Pinliang had the memories of the Madragon Master, but because of the short period of time, he still couldn't fully integrate it. Sometimes, there would be pauses. It seems like Lin Yi did us a big favor again. Pinliang smiled. But, if Pao can't successfully walk out of the demons in his heart and pull himself together, won't he be stuck in this situation for the rest of his life? Master, there's no other way. You know that to practice the Chrysanthemum Arts, one has to go through this. Chunyang shrugged helplessly. If the chrysanthemum arts were so easy to practice, would our everyday and everyday sect be suppressed by the five elements sect? That's true. I hope Pao can successfully break through. Pinliang nodded. Hakanamada Mountains, Fiery Mountain Sect. Chapter 29:15. Old Head, you have to help me think of a way. Yang Shuajian is my most outstanding grandson, which is equivalent to your grandnephew. He died just like that, and he died so miserably. Yang Dingtian said in a sorrowful tone. Ahem. Dingtian, I understand how you feel, but life and death in a trial is determined by fate. Yang Shuajian went to participate in the trial and didn't come back. It can only be said that he was unlucky, and we can't do anything about it. Dingtian, I'm sorry for your loss. Bazooka comforted helplessly. Old Head, you don't know this, but I just got the news. Our Shuajian wasn't killed by a spirit beast in the trial, but by Zhang Naipeo of the Everyday and Everyday sect. Yang Dingtian said sadly. What? Zhang Naipeo of the Everyday and Everyday sect killed him? Bazooka's face changed. If Yang Shuajian had died a violent death, then Fire Mountain could only blame it on their bad luck. But being killed by someone else was a different story. This wasn't just a matter of hatred, it was also a matter of face for Fire Mountain. Are you sure? Yes. Old Head. Yang Dingtian nodded. That grandson of mine found a relatively safe place in the Sky Elixir sex test, and he was just about to rest in there when Zhang Naipeo, a disciple of the Everyday and Everyday sect, who was also resting there, suddenly attacked him. Not only did he not allow my grandson to rest, he even tried to steal his medicine, and when my grandson didn't give it to him, he attacked and killed my grandson. Although Yang Dingtian was exaggerating, the truth wasn't far from the truth. This Zhang Naipeo is too arrogant, Bazooka said in a low voice. Does he think that our Fire Mountain is easy to bully? Old Head, this isn't a problem of being easy to bully. The Everyday and Everyday sect is not someone we can mess with. Yang Dingtian said with red eyes. If he could mess with them, he wouldn't need to ask the fire leader for help. He would have gone to the Everyday and Everyday sect himself for revenge. Where did you get this news from? Is it accurate? Bazooka also had a bit of a headache. Indeed, the Everyday and Everyday sect was the same as the Five Elements sect, a sect that came down from the immemorial level. As the saying goes, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Although these two sects were no longer Taigu sects, they were still stronger than other ancient sects, right? This is the information that young Master Burning Cloud found out. It shouldn't be fake. Yang Dingtian said. Oh, did Fire Cloud find out about it? Rocket Launcher was stunned for a moment before he said, Ask Burning Cloud to come here immediately and tell me everything in detail? Yes. Yang Dingtian responded and walked to the door. He gave a few instructions to a disciple on duty, and the disciple quickly left. Not long after, a dark-skinned young man walked into the room respectfully. His eyes were red, as if he had just been crying. Hua Xiaoyun greets grandfather and great elder. Burning Cloud, what's going on? Rocket Launcher asked. Grandfather, Shuajian Bro was indeed killed by Zhang Naipeo from the Everyday and Everyday sect. Yang Shuajian and Hua Xiaoyun grew up together, trained together, and the sect had purposely raised Yang Shuajian to be Hua Xiaoyun's right-hand man, to take over the position of Great Elder. Hence, the two of them were very close. They weren't blood brothers, but they were closer than blood brothers. Now that the news of Yang Shuajian's death came, Hua Xiaoyun was extremely sad and hated Zhang Naipeo to the bone. This time, Hua Xiaoyun's story was more detailed, and there were some differences from what Yang Dingtian said. Although Yang Shuajian was a bit arrogant, it was Zhang Naipeo who provoked him first, and Hua Xiaoyun didn't side with Yang Shuajian. He was only telling the truth. It seems like we are also to blame. Yang Shuajian was too impulsive. Rocket Launcher couldn't help but sigh after hearing this. Old Master, who hasn't been impulsive in their youth? Back then, when you and I were young, didn't we also think that we were number one in the world? Yang Dingtian said sadly. That's true, Sai. But, if this Zhang Naipeo was a disciple of another ancient sect, then we could still question him. But this Everyday and Everyday sect, Although Rocket Launcher didn't continue, what he meant was that they couldn't afford to mess with them. Yang Dingtian was silent as well. Indeed, the everyday sect wasn't something they could mess with. If the two sects were to really clash, the one who would suffer in the end would be Fiery Mountain. Grandpa, Grand Elder, I have an idea. Hua Xiaoyun saw that the two were silent and hesitated. Oh, what idea? Rocket Launcher raised his head and looked at Hua Xiaoyun. The everyday sect and Zhang Naipeo are domineering, but it's not like no one can stop them. Hua Xiaoyun had wanted to say this a long time ago, but saying it out would weaken Fiery Mountain's momentum. What do you mean? You mean the Five Elements sect? Rocket Launcher paused. Of course not. It's impossible for the people of the Five Elements sect to form an alliance with our Fiery Mountain sect. We're just a pawn in their plan. Although we're just using each other, they're high and mighty existences, so how could they care about our matters? Hua Xiaoyun shook his head. Plus, the everyday sect is also an important part of that plan. Then you mean? Rocket Launcher looked at Hua Xiaoyun curiously. In this trial, there was a wandering practitioner named Lin Yi. Hua Xiaoyun changed the topic and told Rocket Launcher and Yang Dingtian about Lin Yi's actions in the trial. After that, Rocket Launcher and Yang Dingtian fell into shock. After a while, Rocket Launcher said, "You mean Lin Yi killed Emoba and Emojio, and nothing happened? Not only did Zhang Naipeo not do anything to him, but the everyday sect didn't do anything to him either?" That's right. Of course, that's not all. After I noticed this Lin Yi wandering practitioner, I did some research and found out some other things. Hua Xiaoyun continued, in the Ice Palace trial, Lin Yi crippled Zhang Naipeo, but the everyday sect didn't do anything to him. So, there must be something wrong with this Lin Yi? Bazooka's face showed a pondering look. You mean, we can work with Lin Yi and ask for his help to teach the everyday sect a lesson, Hua Xiaoyun said. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.